Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 290th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening we have Andy Patterson and Dave the Hater Lowback. A lot of action over the weekend, everybody. If you're on Patreon, you would have heard our AMIR Khan, Samuel Vargas live commentary special last night. We will be discussing Khan as well tonight, so don't worry, you haven't missed out on anything, apart from some of Andy's witticisms. Rob Kelly rapping live on Patreon. Not really, but maybe one day. Also, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia were fighting last night. There was Concepcion, Maloney, Lebedev was there. Plenty of action. Also, Triple G is coming up next week. So is Jose Luis Ramirez. We have Bellew of the Week. 3 guests expected. Whether or not we'll get all 3 of them on, we'll see. Also, a couple of familiar voices, including one you might not have heard for a while, who's looking to come on if he clicks the link and joins us. One guy you do want to be hearing from is Dave the Hater Lowback. He loves a bit of AMIR Khan action. Khan, exciting as ever against Vargas. Pretty wide scores. He had Vargas down a couple of times. He was down himself in the second round. Really exciting performance from Khan. Love him or hate him, Dave. You want him to tighten up the defence. He keeps saying he's learned and he's going to do things differently. But, Leopard can't change his spots. Khan just cannot avoid getting brought into a war.
I didn't see the whole fight, but I saw the highlights. And, Khan he looks pretty shot to me, doesn't he? I mean, I think Pacquiao would kick his ass at this point, and I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. Because at this point, Pacquiao is damn well past it too, and I mean it's a good money win for Pacquiao, and probably be entertaining. Khan is always entertaining. It's ridiculous how often we talk about him, considering his relevance. He's a constant subject of discussion. Among all fans and haters, love to talk about Khan. I mean, he's fun to watch. And he's just a freakishly talented guy, but also freakishly vulnerable. So it's a fascinating subject for fight fans to discuss. People like to see him lose. People even like to see him win. People like to see him throw hands. People like to see him get dropped. And he showed it all. So it was probably a pretty entertaining fight to those who tuned in. Although I heard the ratings weren't great for it on the zone stream, though I wasn't following it. So
they were great apparently on Sky, though. Eddie was tweeting out today, I think, saying it was like the biggest audience they've had on non-pay-per-view for so long.
That's crazy. I mean, I mean, what has Khan done to warrant that, really? But whatever. I mean,
he's exciting as an Olympian. People know him. If you ask my mom about a boxer, she would probably know AMIR Khan. That's the type of level of popularity and notoriety, I suppose, he's gained in the UK.
I mean, yeah, and I guess, there's so many casuals. They don't know that Samuel Vargas is not a good opponent. They don't know that when he smashed, who the hell did he even smash? That Australian guy that I can't remember his name. When he smashed that guy in 40 seconds, they don't know that wasn't a good win. So, they just think he probably just struggled in a really entertaining, exciting fight. So everyone is probably satisfied with this. For me, from my perspective, looks like he's in career trouble, but he has been for quite a while now. And Brooke, I think, would smash him. But Brooke, is Brooke ever going to fight again? I don't know. Don't really care either.
He was ringside last night anyway, I suppose, Kell Brooks. So
yeah, right next to that guy who snorted about a ton of coke.
That guy, he was smiling like a Cheshire cat, man. He was enjoying himself, wasn't he, that lad?
I saw him on Twitter today. He's his name is Shafir, I think. He said, "I'm sorry I ruined your interview, Kel. I was just really happy."
Yeah, I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was. I don't know how happy you were, Gabe Lewis, but we're happy that you're on the call. Ben Churchard has been in touch. He said, impressed by the bodywork from Vargas last night. He kept setting himself up for the overhand right. A very limited guy, using his smarts to level the playing field at times in there. Paul Edwards jumped in as well, Gabe. He said, I think Andy called it right on last week's show. It's time for Khan to retire, looking at last night's performance. He's going to take a beating. Whatever happens to Khan next, Gabe, whether you want to see him fight Pacquiao, whether you want to see him Brook, it's going to fight Brook. It's going to be exciting, isn't it? The guy always takes us along for the ride, and I do look forward to his fights. He gave us another exciting one last night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I used to be firmly entrenched in the Khan is shit camp. I guess earlier on in his career, whenever he was going on that beginning of that run, around the time whenever he fought Marcos Maidana, I I thought, no, there's no way this guy's not as good as everybody's claiming. But whenever you go back and watch his fights, I don't see how you couldn't help but be entertained. I mean, he's fast. He has some punching power. Offensively, he's a great, fun to watch fighter, and I think that's exactly what makes him exciting. Because if he's fighting to his strengths with his offense, then he's leaving himself open, and his defense has never been strong. And then you got the glass chin. So I mean, I honestly, like I said, I used to be firmly entrenched in that camp of I hate Khan. I hope he gets knocked out. All this nonsense. But there's not a guy out there that's as exciting as he is on a fight by fight basis. I mean, anybody has an opportunity to put that guy down and put him out. So to me, his value is that he's constantly exciting. I think that's one of the reasons why I like certain fighters, is because they fight a certain way, and it makes them exciting because you don't know what's going to happen. And I think that's how it is with Khan. I've been reading all morning trying to figure out what might be next, and there's some speculation from various people and some of our own guys and stuff about how it's going to play out. I think the time is long overdue. I think the time has been passed for it to be the best it could have been. But I want to see him fight Kell Brook. I've wanted to see that fight for a long time. I think Kell Brook beats him. If Kell decides to fight again. I don't know. There was also some speculation about Kell getting the Pacquiao fight and then the winner of that fight turning around to fight Khan. Well, I don't know that either guy, Pacquiao or Kell Brook, would be worth having after that fight, depending on how it shakes out. So we're talking about three guys near the end. I mean, they're all eyeing the finish line here. And I don't think between the three of them that there's a bad matchup. I think Kell Brook has some tools that he can use to beat Pacquiao. I'm not saying I think he would. I think he has some skills that could make it a good fight, competitive fight. But the same goes for Khan. And then, of course, it's fucking Pacquiao. If he fights either one of those guys, he's probably going to be favored to win. So, honestly, in my opinion, it makes no difference. I think there's some more logical conclusions to it, though. I think Khan versus Brook should be next. The winner of that should go on to fight Pacquiao, and that to me makes more sense, because Pacquiao should still be the big name here, the goal that they're chasing. Giving Kell Brook that fight first is just another way to keep Kell from fighting Khan, which seems like it's been the plan all along.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. Busy chat room tonight. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, everybody. If you're in the chat, hit the thumbs up. Tell YouTube that you enjoy listening to us. You're going to get about 2 hours, 2.5 hours out of us tonight. Andy's off messing with his computer. He's having a few issues. We'll go to the undercard whenever we get the boys on. Ozzy, Rob, those guys who would have seen it. Andrew Maloney was in action last night. Australian, 17-0. He won some WBA trinket or whatever by knocking out Luis Concepcion in the 10th round. Big win for him. Also, Tim Zhu, son of the mighty Costa Tzu, first round knockout for him. He's up to 11-0 now over Marcos Corneo. He obviously punches like his old man. They're going to have to find somebody to stand up to him. Dave, I'm going to be bringing you in shortly on Danny Garcia, Sean Porter. We might as well go over there. Just before we do, Joe O'Neill was in touch, friend of the pod, assistant editor over at irishboxing.com. He alerted me to a title. There was no title on the line last night for Amir Khan against Samuel Vargas. Everybody knows I love a bullshit title. During the week, Umar Salamov went in with Denis Lebow for the Eurasian Boxing Parliament light heavyweight title in Russia. The Eurasian Boxing Parliament light heavyweight title. Love that one. Would love to win that one myself. Put that to one side. Dave. Just a bit of background noise going on there. Not to worry. Someone's shouting. Maybe want to get me off tonight. Dave, yeah, tell me about Danny Garcia against Sean Porter, vacant WBC welterweight title on the line. A lot of people seem to think that Danny Garcia had done enough. From what I saw, and I wasn't completely enraptured in the fight, to be honest, that maybe Porter had done enough. He'd maybe won the title fair and square. What did you see, Dave?
It was a fun fight. Not tremendous, but fun. Porter, I think, has improved since some of his other performances. He added another style to his game that he kind of blends with his old one. Which actually, he was more of a mover and a boxer when I saw him coming up too. used his jab more, tried to fight on the outside. So I think he's kind of combined the two styles that he's had success with throughout his career. Garcia fought well as well. He really did rally down the stretch, I thought, and it was razor thin. It was hard to score as well. Do you like the volume? Do you like the body punching? Do you like the clean shots? And it's also really difficult since neither guy was ever significantly hurt. I thought maybe each guy got a little shook up once apiece earlier in the fight, but as they went down, both guys just ate the bombs. And I would say it's hard to tell, or it's hard to score when the power deficit is, or the power discrepancy is so hard to determine. It was like Porter's not known as a big puncher, but he seemed to shake up Garcia, who has a tremendous beard. Garcia is known as more of a puncher, yet every left hook he landed, almost every left hook he landed, Porter ate it with no problem. Kept coming in. He also slipped a lot of shots on the inside. The body punching was working well. So I think it was a fair decision. The cards weren't ridiculous. I will, if you're having trouble with the children there, I can continue.
No, you're fine, Dave. You just stopped abruptly, Dave. Sorry, go ahead.
I want to counter that point too, because I don't feel like it was that hard to score. I thought it was all fairly clear what I felt I saw. There were some rounds where you could have gone either way because it was like so back and forth. One guy would have some time, then the other guy would have some time, then another guy would have some time, then the other one would have some time. So I think the real thing that I saw was that there was a lot of rounds to me that looked fairly clear, but then there were those couple of swing rounds where I thought a draw was acceptable. I had Garcia by a point, and then also I had, you know, if you had Porter by a point or two, I could see that as well. So I think the judges got kind of caught up on the activity of Porter. I mean, it was there. He was active. He was doing what he always does, but it was rubbish. He wasn't landing anything. It was all landing on Garcia's arms. He had a good tight defense. So if you know what you were watching, there was some parts in there where, yeah, it looked a little bit good, looked a little bit flashy, but I think Porter's trash. I can't stand the guy, honestly. I hate watching him fight. He looks like a bum, and I hope he gets knocked out very soon. But I thought Danny Garcia, honestly, I thought the way that I prefer to see a fight play out, the styles that I like, you know, highlighting that discrepancy where people can pick and choose what they prefer. To me, I thought Garcia pulled the fight out.
Casual Gabe can't score body punches.
That's a joke. What body punch? He landed some, but
Porter threw to the body almost the entire fight.
Danny he fucking didn't. And when he did, it didn't land, Dave.
It did.
Go put it on slow-mo and rewatch that shit.
Right, okay, thanks, boys. The Americans are going at each other. They're going to have to get in the middle of them. Sorry about that, Richie. Good to have you on the call. Richie, our friend Richie Garner's here with Jay Harris. How are you, gentlemen? Evening.
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad at all. Thanks for joining us, Jay. Appreciate it. So we're talking about Amir Khan, actually. Did you get to see anything of it last night? What did you make of Amir's performance?
Yeah, well, as I was just saying to Richie down by you, I went out for some dinner and stuff last night, but I managed to get home for the Khan fight, and we were just talking about this as it goes, and I honestly think if he fights Kell Brook, I think Kell Brook does him in a couple of rounds. He didn't impress me as like he used to be. His hand speed and stuff is still there, but he just looked flat-footed. Like he was taking unnecessary shots. He even got put down, and he even got caught later on in the rounds, and he was breakdancing in as well. If it was 30 seconds left, he would have been on top of him again. So I don't think he's at the level where he wants to be at, I don't think.
Yeah, he's very exciting, obviously. We were saying at the top of the show that he hasn't managed to iron out. He always says like he's learned things and the defense is going to be better and he's got the new trainer and that, but he never seems to quite get it. You know, he's a really entertaining, exciting fighter. But if you see him, Jay, going in against the likes of Pacquiao or Kell Brook, I honestly don't think it's going to end well for Amir, to be honest.
No, I don't either. I think he loses to both of them, Pacquiao and Kell Brook. I think they both knock him out. But as you said, he is an exciting fighter. He is value for money as well because something's going to happen. He's either going to get wobbled or, well, I think he's going to get knocked out against any of them, personally.
Wouldn't be surprised. Let's motor onto your career, Jay. You're 13-0, 7 knockouts, 28 years of age. You're obviously from Swansea there. Down at flyweight. I'm looking on BoxRec, actually. It says that you've got a fight coming up in October. Is that right? Any idea of you're going to be defending your Commonwealth title?
Yeah, that's right. October 12th in Yeovil is going to be. I'm defending my Commonwealth title, yeah, against Scottish guy, Ross Murray.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. It's about time I did defend it because I won it back in February, and only now I'm getting to defend it. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, you won it obviously in February 2017 against Thomas Asomba. Decent fighter, Asomba. He's been around a bit. What did you remember about that fight?
Yeah, it was a really good fight, to be honest. I could have boxed a lot better than I did, but it is what it is. And he sucked me into a lot of good fights, close fights. He dug a bit as well, to be honest. One of the rounds I remember, I seen 2 of him. But I stuck it in there and got the win comfortably as well in the end. It was my first time doing 12 rounds as well. And it was a massive learning experience for me.
How did you find it during the 12 rounds? Was it what you expected? Were you starting to blow a little bit? Are you glad that you got that in the bank now?
Yeah, I'm chuffed I got it in the bank. I think round 7 I started to feel it. And I was like, oh, God, here we go. I started to blow it a bit. But I kind of had a second wind in the 9th, 10th, and 11th then, which is great. And then I knew I won the fight on the 12th round. So I just kept moving. So just to get a win.
Ross Murray, ranked number 5 on BoxRec in Britain, 8-1 from Scotland, as you said, from Glasgow. What do you know about Ross?
I don't know much about him, to be honest. I know he fought Sonny Edwards not so long back. I think it could have been back last year as well. And I know Sonny Edwards knocked him out as well. But I haven't seen much videos of him on YouTube or anything like that. So I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, a couple of other names I wanted to get your opinion on as well. Obviously, Harvey Horns, 3-0. He's made a little bit of an impression. He's been doing a few IFL videos, seems to think that he's going to be going places. And also Jacob Robinson got a pretty impressive knockout there, was floating about on Twitter recently.
Yeah, I went up to that show when Jacob knocked that kid out. Yeah, it was a great knockout. I thought, in my opinion, when he went down, I thought the boy was like seriously hurt. Even when he got back up and they tried carrying him out the ring, he was wobbling everywhere. But I've watched the knockout back and it was like, it didn't look like there was much in it, but it was such a quick on the button shot that just wiped him out. It was such a good shot.
Yeah, it was picture perfect. One of the ones that really goes viral on videos and stuff. Just to remind our listeners, we've got Jay Harris on the call, Commonwealth flyweight champion. We've got Andrew Selby in the list as well. Obviously, he's going on towards world level at the moment. Jay's up there on his own, with the points, and he's looking at possibly like Sir Christopher Rosales, who beat Paddy Barnes. Obviously, Andrew's already beaten him. He's a good fighter, isn't he, Andrew Selby? Very skillful.
Yeah, very skillful. Nice switch it. His balance is unbelievable. His speed is great. Even looking back on he boxed Rosales' head off even though he went down in the second round. It was just a flash knockdown hours, but he come back and won the fight comfortable. I think every fight he's had, to be honest, he's won comfortable. So I could see him, if he fights Rosales, he'll definitely win that world title, which is good for Wales, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. It certainly would be. Obviously, you're in and around Commonwealth level, but I mean, do you keep an eye on the guys in the 112-pound division up at the top? Rosales, Delakian, the WBA guys, the good champion, Sho Kimura, obviously WBO champion as well. Do you keep an eye on these fellas?
Definitely. I actually went out to Ukraine to spar Delakian. I went out there for 2 weeks. I did to help him prepared for that world title fight as it goes. It was pretty good. I even met Klitschko out there when we were out there.
No sparring with Klitschko though, Jay.
No, definitely no sparring with Klitschko. There's a picture of me with him as it goes, and literally, I look like a midget next to him. He's massive. No lie.
What about Delakian? What does he do well? And obviously as a world champion, he's experienced and skillful guy.
Yeah, well, when we were up there, we had he had 3 sparring partners. It was me, Sonny Edwards, and Maruti Mathiane. He's now IBF world champion. He is in flyweight, and it was a really really good spars over there. But Delakian, he's quite powerful for his the way he is, and he can move quite nice. But to be honest, I held my own against him pretty well.
Does that give you confidence, does it, Jay? Inspiration sort of thing to know that you can mix, like spar at that type of level?
Oh, definitely. That's what you want to see, don't you? When you go out to spar in these countries, you want to see where you are and at that level, or where you are at that level. So it was great. It was an hell of a confidence boost as well.
You've obviously got Richie Garner there with you. What's your training set up, your management set up? Who's looking after you, Jay?
Well, my dad trains me, and Gary Lockett manages me. But Richie, he helps out whenever he can. He even asked me about this today and just brought me down the house. And I fought on a couple of Richie's shows as well back home. It was, I have a good...
Jay's father, Peter's a former champion himself. British champion, out of the trainer. He's got a great team around him. He's got a fantastic team around him. Obviously he's got Gary Lockett managing him. Gary is all he really looks after Jay. And Jay's, he's very dedicated, and his father's got him at it just about every day. He's very lucky to have such a close, tight-knit team around him. It's just unfortunately he hasn't been given the opportunities that perhaps he should have been afforded to him. But I'll just take this opportunity, because I know you get a lot of downloads and what have you, just to remind people that, it's the boxers who lose out when they don't get these opportunities. But then he's been very fortunate in so much as Mo Pryor has given him a chance to appear on one of his shows to defend his title. But, like I said, I'll just remind everybody, Jay's on Twitter. I think he's on Facebook. If you get the opportunity, then, it'd be fantastic if anybody who's interested in watching this kid fight, downloads those apps if they haven't got them, maybe makes a profile, maybe gets in touch with them and buys the tickets directly from the boxers, because, it's always beneficial, to be recognized as a ticket seller, to get on, give yourself more opportunities on shows. I mean, it amazes me, and it's something which deeply troubles me that, especially in Wales, where we don't have too many opportunities for the fighters. And, we get 72,000 people coming to see Anthony Joshua, and yet we struggle to fill a small hall show where, kids like Jay, honest, hardworking kids, are really doing their best to make a career for themselves. And the level of talent that this kid has got is phenomenal. The way that he moves, his footwork, he can bang. I mean, for his weight, he's got 7 stoppages in 13 fights. That's quite unusual for the smaller fighters. He's exciting. He can bang. He's got great footwork. He's got a great team around him, and he'll fight anybody. It'd be great if, this could be a good platform for people to get in touch with him in order to get some tickets off him, to boost his purse and give him a chance to further his career.
Well said, Richie. What is the Twitter profile and Facebook and what have you?
I'll pass you back to Jay for that.
I'll just double check now. My Twitter is jharris19. And my Instagram is... Wait there. Let me just see.
While Jay's looking for that, I will take an opportunity to talk about some products that Boxing Asylum's got.
Yeah. Go ahead, Richie.
Might as well push these now. Listen, they're selling really well. Obviously, Gorilla Kings is my product. We're doing it in conjunction with you guys. I mean, we've had really good feedback from everybody who's bought the product so far. They're really high quality. But I've spoken to some of you guys about the possibility of running a competition towards the end of the month for anybody who buys and has bought a product so far. And anybody who does purchase something, towards the end of the month, we're probably going to run a competition, like a little randomly selected individual to have perhaps an item of memorabilia from one of the shows that I've been to. I've discussed it with Ozzy about the possibility of somebody having something, because, of course, it's important that we give the fans something back as much as anything else. And it's important that we keep people interested in boxing, especially in Wales. But, for the wider audience, for people supporting the podcast, which also is important, because, you guys do your best to project boxing in Britain and to talk about boxing on all levels. So, I'd urge people to get on to eBay to look at the product, because it really, we've had some great feedback on it.
Well said, Richie. We'll definitely get on board with that. Richie Shadow on Twitter yourself?
That's right, yeah. That's right.
Excellent. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I got JHarris19 for my Twitter and Harris03 for my Instagram. I have got Snapchat. It's JHarris03, but if I'm honest, I don't really go out on Snapchat as much.
No problem. Final couple of questions, and we do thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this Sunday evening. The British title last in possession of Andrew Selby. If that were to become available, Jay, would that be something you'd obviously be interested in fighting for?
100%. Now, even at the Superfly one, them two weights, I know the Superfly one is vacant, so I'm hoping maybe there's an opportunity that I can fight for that after this defense. So, but either one of them, flyweight or super flyweight, I'll fight for. If they come up, the opportunity comes up, I'm there, 100%.
And that leads me into my final question. I was going to say, obviously, you're not looking past Ross Murray, but what are the long-term aspirations? What do you think you can really achieve out of this sport, Jay?
What I want to achieve is, like anybody, I want to fight for a world title. That's if I got the opportunity to fight for a world title, it'd be out of this world. Whatever. Just if I got that chance, it would be brilliant.
Well said, Jay. Go and follow him on Twitter, everybody, at JHarris19. Also Instagram, Harris03, and Snapchat as well. Maybe not so much, but JHarris03. It's been a pleasure, Jay, and also Richie, having you guys on. You're welcome back anytime. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Ta-ra.
All the best. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Jay Harris there. Thanks for Aussie for sorting that out. Also, yeah, go ahead and get your hoodies and your T-shirts and stuff. Richie is the man who's sorting all that out. Does a lot for Welsh boxing, going up and down, sorting out these shows. And Jay, I like the way he's got 7 knockouts in 13 down at flyweight. It shows he's got a bit of bang about him. He's got a bit of talent as well. So good luck to those boys. Good luck to you as well, Rob Kelly. I'm not sure what for, but no doubt we'll find something at some point. While I bring our second guest of the evening in, Rob, you were on Patreon with us last night, giving the lowdown on AMIR Khan. What have the people missed from you if they didn't hear you last night? What assessment did you make of AMIR Khan's performance? Well,
I'm a little bit late jumping on again, as usual, but I think I'm probably going to echo what the panel have been saying. Like AMIR, over the years, I think I alluded to this last week, that he's been with Oliver Harrison, that he's been with Freddie Roach, that he's been with Virgil Hill, that he's been with Goosen now. And his vulnerabilities have been the same, like, you know what I mean? He's got terrific hand speed, blistering hand speed still at 31. But I think his footwork is diminishing. And obviously he's still hanging his chin in the air when he comes out. Like, and the shot that put him down last night from Vargas was a carbon copy shot of the shot that Canelo knocked him out with. Fade away, throw away left hand to the body, follow with right hand over the top, clean his clock. And if there had been more time in the round with the state he was in, although he did recover well, if there had been more time in the round, you wouldn't favour him to finish the fight. So, to me, Pacquiao gets him in. Like, the people around him, and I don't know much about Khan's camp, this is all speculation, but it's an age-old tale in boxing, isn't it? When, you know, it might be time for the fighter to hang him up, but the people around him are not going to be telling him that. But if the people around him don't ask him this question, like, how do you think you're going to avoid Manny Pacquiao for 12 rounds? How do you think you're going to keep him off for 12 rounds? Like, if Manny Pacquiao gets you in trouble, you're gone. And it could be a bad knockout for your career at this stage. And if the people around him are not asking him that question, then they might be in it for the wrong reasons. I feel the same about Kell Brook. Kell Brook throws a lot of straight punches down the middle, jabs to the left, follows it with the right hand over the top. In fact, that's probably his speciality, punch select. So I've always thought he had Khan's number, even though I prefer Khan as a fighter. So I could see nothing but a knockout loss in the two of them. Now, maybe he wants the payday, and probably he's thinking, I think he's calling out Manny Pacquiao because I think he's more comfortable with losing to Manny Pacquiao than he is to Kell Brook. Like, I don't think he wants that Brook fight for that view that from that point of view that he just can't take a loss to Brook like he could to other people. He's always said Brook is not on his level, but you know, maybe he's not ashamed of losing to Manny Pacquiao, but I worry for the guy's health, honestly. He suffered a lot of brutal knockouts already. And if guys that, like Samuel Vargas, are dropping you and putting you dead in trouble, taking you the full distance, like he said last night, he could have stopped him, but he stepped off him. No, Fury could have stopped Pianeta and he stepped off him. We all saw that. Like, You weren't stepping off that dude last night. Like, you tried to go out and get him out of there in the next round after getting dropped and came on strong. You weren't stepping off him. Like, you just couldn't get him out of there. And you were gassing in the last minute of each round, which is not a great sign. Understandable after 2 years out. He's only had 40 seconds of action in 2 years. So it's understandable. And in many ways, it's probably good for him to get the rounds, considering the ring rust factor. But you've got to be honest with yourself and say at 31, Amir Khan's not the same fighter. And he's banging trouble against either of those two.
Tell me about Garcia Porter, Rob. What did you make of that one?
Yuck. It was a close fight. Like, I couldn't argue against, even though I'm not. Everybody knows I'm not Sean Porter's biggest fan. In fact, I'm probably his number one detractor. Like, I just hate his style of tackling people to the ropes and just smothering work and just kind of physically winning fights like that. I don't know, but in a way, it's a strange one for Danny Garcia. I feel like Garcia was a better fighter at 40. Even though he didn't do anything particularly badly, I don't think he does anything particularly well apart from that left hook. And I think he's beatable by any of the top guys at 47. So I don't know where Garcia goes. He probably gives them all a fight, but I don't know where he goes from here. Showtime seemed to have thrown all their eggs in the Errol Spence basket. Like, Errol Spence is in the ring last night, getting a lot of camera time. So we're going to see Sean Porter versus Errol Spence, it looks like. I believe Spence will maul Sean Porter and maybe get him out of here for good, so we won't have to see him back. But for some reason, he seems to be floating around the top. And look, maybe I'm a bit too harsh on Sean Porter. The guy has got a good resume. He's beaten some good fighters: Berto, Granados, Broner. Was in a tough fight with Kell Brook. A lot of people thought he beat Thurman. I didn't. But he has got a good resume, and he is now a 2-time world champion. But I just don't like him. And I think Spence mauls him. And it's a strange one for Garcia because I feel like he was being lined up to be a big star a couple of years ago. I said that last week. I felt like he was in line for a shot at Floyd at 47 in that Showtime run before the Maidana fights. And certainly they were getting behind him as the next American star, but American/Puerto Rican star. But it just doesn't look like it's going to happen.
There's a lot to like about Porter, though, in that he beats the guys you hate. He beat Devin Alexander. He beat Adrian Broner. And now he's beaten Danny Garcia. So, got to give him credit.
That's the only reason you scored the fight for him, Dave. Just tell the truth.
No, that was a very close fight, and the judges agreed with me,
I'm just teasing. I know it was a close fight. I'm just giving you a hard time, bro.
Actually, I had it at draw. I didn't even score it for Porter, but I mean, it was a close fight. I can't argue with the judges there, and I couldn't argue with them if they had it for Garcia. Though I think the opposite to what Gabe thought. That I thought the bigger rounds, the ones that were more clear, were won by Porter, and I gave Garcia a greater share of the swing rounds, but just by a little bit. I think if you have him winning, you have to give him most of the swing rounds.
I was thinking about, we were talking to Khan and Brooke. I think that fight could play out similarly, where not exactly the same, but where Khan would be more of the Porter type and Brooke would be more of a Garcia type in that fight. And I think it highlights again part of what we were talking about a minute ago. The how much your personal reflections on the fight can come into play. So whenever I'm scoring that fight, I really dislike Sean Porter's style. And I typically don't rate activity over solid, clean punching. So usually if I'm looking at a fight and I see a guy that's throwing a lot of punches that I look at, and like I said, I think are landing on elbows or getting blocked or just kind of pity patter, then I'll score it for the guy that looks to be doing the cleaner work. And I thought that was Garcia at the majority of the fight. I don't know. I think it was a strange fight because it was so back and forth and there was so much ebb and flow to it, even within, 30-second time frames of each round. You could go watch it go back and forth and really notice the changes in momentum. And then one guy comes on and then right back 5 seconds later, it's the other guy coming back on strong. So I thought it was a really good fight. I mean, I know what you said. You didn't think it was spectacular. I would agree that it wasn't maybe spectacular, but it was a good, solid fight of two top guys. And I think it's another reflection that we see a lot of times whenever top guys are fighting top guys. It's just, it's so high level that it doesn't produce the kind of excitement that maybe ESPN Friday Night Fights type deal would have produced.
Okay, Gabe, thanks very much. Joining us on the call, we have our second guest of the evening. Delighted to welcome Irish middleweight Luke Keeler to the call. How are you, Luke?
Not bad, yeah, good. I'm just on a bit of a break now at the moment. Well, I'm training once a day, just waiting on a date. I think that the team are working on a big fight for me before Christmas, so I'm just waiting on the date now, kicking over. So enjoy it. I enjoyed the last couple of weeks off. You know, you need to just rest the body and take a break, and then back into a long camp. You know.
We were just talking there off air, obviously, about the Tommy Langford Jason Wellborn fight, which is at your weight. What did you make of that? You know, Wellborn could be a possible future opponent for you. Who knows?
Yeah, look, I watched. I just caught the last couple of rounds. Look, any guy that's come forward that kind of style suits my type of boxing. So it's a fight that I actually asked for, but I think I just seen on Twitter today as well. Mark Heffron said he's see in December, so he's the mandatory, so he'd be next for a Wellborn. But it's a fight definitely. The winner of those in the future, I'll be looking at like what we're both building. Like I wouldn't write Wellborn off against Heffron either. He seems to have a resurgence. He had a couple of losses early in his career, but he seems to be head down. I think I just read an interview. He's training full time himself, and he had a couple of good wins against Langford. So you couldn't write him off. So the winner of that would be something in the future. But I reckon December for myself. So I'll have a good 14-week camp ahead of me. You know.
And next week, obviously, Spike's got a big opportunity, hasn't he, going in against David Lemieux? It's going to be a battle between two bangers. How do you see that one ending up, Luke?
Yeah, look, that's where the 4 years of my pro career was in Celtic Warriors, and Spike helped me out a lot, sparring. I see, look, there's huge difference in Spike. Spike never lived a life, he admit that himself, and the last, say, year, he used to blow up in between fights. Like eating bad food and drinking, and like he's actually staying in shape now. The last few fights in between camps, and you can see the difference. He's a new fighter. Like I think Spike will do him. And like I know he's the underdog, and Lemieux was a huge puncher. Lemieux was good. Obviously, if someone stands in front of him, he can knock anyone out. Billy Joe obviously had a whitewash for him, but I think anyone standing in front of me has that power to knock them out. But I think Spike just is that bit fresher. The fact that he's living his life now. Lemieux probably struggled a bit with the weight. I think Spike does him. I wouldn't be surprised if he stops him. You know.
And just going back to your career, obviously you had an 8-rounder recently on the Carl Frampton Luke Jackson undercard. The guy who you fought, I was there. It was a bit frustrating to fight against that guy. He wasn't standing in one place. And how did you feel about your performance that evening, Luke?
Yeah, look, there was a couple of different pullouts. It was supposed to be originally a title fight against a good, a come forward guy. So we spent the camp working on that, and then we did a Mexican opponent. And the weekend he didn't get past. I don't think he passed medical. And then the week, only a couple of days after we got this guy. He was awkward. Dwayne Grant now, but at the same time, like it was a blessing in disguise having that guy in Newell. He's kind of ducking low, holding. It's something that I had to work on a deal better with myself. So, like it was a great 8 rounds experience. It was good for me coach to see. Like we were working on little drills already, you know, just to cut the ring off that bit quicker, stay in there. Like I was loading up and looking for the perfect punch against him, and I should have been just breaking him down more in there, you know, just instead of committing and letting them hold me nearly. So I'm happy with it. It was a great learning for you. I was really happy with it, and it's something. It's just another learning, another step. But they're working on a big fight now in December. But I'll have a full camp for this one. The last camp I damaged my hand. I was just sparred with a damaged hand. I didn't want to pull out because it's such a good card. But it was just a minor, like a little sprain in one of the knuckles, but it was just niggling. So now I rested it. Over a week's rest, and a good 14-week camp, and no niggles, touch wood, you know.
Just to remind our listeners, we have Luke Keeler on the call, Luke_Keeler over on Twitter. You're obviously training with Peter Taylor now. What type of things does he have you working on that's maybe a little bit different that you worked on with Pascal?
So Pete is coming from the high performance system in Ireland. Like he's 10 years there, and like they travelled all over. You know, like they use a lot of, like, say, the Eastern European camps and stuff like that. He just had me drills, quicken up my feet, feints, just kind of sharpening the footwork. Like I used to, I slowed my feet down a bit, like you know, planting punches, and it's like a common thing that's said to the pros. You need to slow your feet down. But I'm just getting back on my feet, and I'm finding it easy, you know, and sparring and training, like, compared to when I was planted. You know, it's just something slightly different. My footwork is that bit better. Before I was kind of falling in with me punches. I wasn't moving in correctly, but now I'm working on that skill, and it's coming good, you know. So that's the main thing. And then we're training together as well. We're doing everything together in terms of running, strength work, and the boxing. So it's a great setup there we have, you know. There's Gary Cully there and Dave Oliver. So we're all pushing each other. And the other thing is as well, I finished the work at Christmas there, which is a huge benefit. Like before, I was working full time, so I didn't really fully commit to me boxing when I was with Pascal. Like to be going to work after training, and like, so the change of full time was a big difference as well, you know.
Obviously, you showed your boxing skills back in April of this year against Conrad Cummings. You know, a wide victory for you there in Belfast. I was at that one as well. I mean, you really boxed lovely that night, Luke. Maybe a possible rematch people are talking about, or do you just want to move on from Conrad?
Yeah, look, he keeps mentioning every interview. Look, he seems his heart set on it. But to be honest, like, it wasn't a close fight. It was like, bar the cuts, he probably got a round or two, like, you know, kind of way. Like, I was in a good rhythm there. I think if it wasn't for the cuts, it would have been even wider, you know. But he's a good fighter, and if he continues to win and does well, it'd be a nice fight. Like, it'd be a good matchup. And but until that time, like, I'm kind of looking until he brings something to the table, kind of, and builds up wins himself. I'm looking past that, and the team are looking kind of past that, without being disrespectful. But I think it's one for down the line if he continues to do well, which I'm sure he will. But it's not something I'm looking at the moment, you know.
Since the second loss to Tom Doran, you're on a nice little run now, Luke. You know, you got the win over Bradley Price, then a good win over Lewis Taylor, who'd obviously been in with Eamon O'Kane, won the Irish title then against Darren Cruz. Little blip against Adam Jones, but obviously you've beaten Conrad and you've beaten Dwayne Grant. Do you feel like you're really on a nice little run now, and this is the time to sort of strike?
Yeah, like at the regular dates for MTK, like there's just momentum. I'm full-time training as well. So everything is building nicely. Even that draw against Adam Jones, I thought I won the fight. Like, I probably got around. Like, it was he came in heavy. I think he weighed 12 stone 9 for, like, that's like heavyweight limit, isn't it? Like, for that fight. Like, it was just, that was short notice as well, and it was either fight him or have no fight him. They're winning the same day up there, and it was a bit messy, you know, the whole run up to it. So, but I even thought, like, I was very comfortable. I was very comfortable against that fight. It marked as a draw, but it was, again, like, similar to the Dwayne Grant. It was a blessing in disguise, because it gave me a kick up the hole. If I had it, like, say, a weaker journeyman, you get a false sense of security, don't you, where you are? But that really gave me a kick up the hole before the Conrad fight. Same with this Dwayne Grant, like, I'm not always going to get guys coming forward for me, so it gave me something to work on, something that I have to improve. Like, if I come across a mover, you're not always going to get come forward guys that suit me, that wear the box best. So it's all kind of landed nice. It just had a niggle in my hand. Like, if I had that title fight, that went in that fight again. Like, so it's fully rested now and good. But, like, little things, you get a rub of the green, and it seems to be really rolling in the right direction. I think a big fight in December then in 2019 is, like, anything can happen. Like, you're seeing, like, John O'Carroll there. all of a sudden he signs a match and he's a world title eliminator against the guy that he's going to beat, and he fights for the world title. We're in this like we're in a few phone calls back and forth behind the scenes. You're on the cusp of a world title. That's how quick. That's the kind of level I'm at as well. Like, I know a good win in December, I'm not far off that level. You know, that kind of way.
Just finally, Luke, and we do thank you for your time. Next week is obviously the big one, Canelo Alvarez against Golovkin. We saw the controversy in the first fight. You've had all the issues over the PEDs leading up to this rematch. Who's going to win, do you think, Luke?
I think they're both looking. Canelo looks in great shape. He looks smaller now, but he looks in great shape. I hope it could Golovkin, because I think it was a bit obvious that there was something taken, involved. So I hope for the sake of the sport and just look, I hope Golovkin gets the win. Canelo was the money man, but so if it's anyway close and goes the distance, I think he'll get it. He brings all the draw and the money, doesn't he, for Vegas? So I think it'd be cool. I think they're both gonna. I think Canelo was a bit, like you was saying, Mexican boxer. He's a bit like, I think he's gonna fight more this time. There could be a stoppage, so. But no, I'm sticking with Golovkin. He's slowing down Golovkin as well. Like, I think it'd be good. Like, if Golovkin got the win, I think Billy Joe actually would beats Golovkin. The fact that he's slowing down. It'd be good if Golovkin can win and Billy Joe took all the belts. I might get a manager,
Yeah,
dream but that's something like that. That'd be it. If Canelo wins, I don't think he fight Billy Joe. Golovkin does, he will.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it on here anyway. We're going to be discussing it later on, but we do thank you for joining us, Luke, at Luke_Keeler over on Twitter. Best of luck going forward. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Yeah, thanks for your time. Thanks,
all the best, Luke. Cheerio. Bye-bye. Luke Keeler there, Irish middleweight contender. Talking about a Scottish middleweight contender, Andy Patterson's on with us. Andy, I know you're having a bit of an issue earlier. The man was trying to keep you off. You will not be stopped. We're talking about AMIR Khan, obviously, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter. I'm going to leave it to you, Andy. If you want to talk Khan, if you want to talk Porter, if you want to talk both, it's entirely up to you, sir.
Well, as I said last night, I said it last week as well, I think Khan should retire. I'll give credit to Tommy Langford. How he actually saw himself through that fight after the trimming he took. It was round 3, I think, or the second round. So fair play to the guy, but I think Joey Nelson was kind of up front and brutal that he needs to retire. I think the Kadzidze knockout or beating is actually just took whatever resistance he did have right out of him. Sam Eggington, that was an absolute shocker as well, and it's a shame I've not got Ozzy on actually, because I wanted to speak to him about Scott Fitzgerald and Anthony Fowler actually. So maybe wait till is he coming on here?
He's supposed to be, but he had something come up just before, Andy, so whether he'll turn up or not, I don't know.
No worries. Lewis Ritson, I suppose, keep warm fight, I suppose. Porter Garcia, I'll just echo what Rob said actually, and I watched like 6 rounds of it. What I will say about the, I thought it was a different card actually, I'll come back to the HBO one, no doubt, but Garcia Porter, I switched it off after 6 rounds. It was just, yeah.
Repetitive mush, do you think? That's what I thought.
That's what I thought. I mean, it's clear. Yeah, put it this way: Garcia, how long? About 2, 3, maybe even longer than that. Actually, was at one point WBC mandatory to Floyd. Ducked that fight. Clearly, we know why. He's like a kind of part-time fighter. He's not fighting often enough. It's been a kind of bugbearer of most of the PBC fighters. I saw like the last 2 minutes of the Glowacki against Martin fight. It seemed to be a bit of a shootout. So I'll catch up with that later, I suppose. But no, I wasn't, as I said to you last week, guys, I wasn't really all that into the Showtime card. It was about watching the HBO for me.
We'll be coming to you later, Andy, on the Superfly, don't worry. What I will say is, Prince Charles Martin, after about the second round, I thought to myself, look at the state of this fat shit, man. His footwork's terrible. He's one of the worst world champions of all time, and I stand by that, but I will give him his credit. He fought his way back in against that little pudgy guy who looked a bit like Andy Ruiz Jr. to me, and he had a right good go. So fair play to Charles Martin. He showed me he had the minerals, because I thought he was ready to bail out after about 3 or 4 rounds, and I actually ended up enjoying that one, to be honest. Anyway, let's move back to the AMIR Khan card in Birmingham. Joining us on the call, familiar voice. You might not have heard him for a while. Press Pass Paul is dead. Are you Paul David now, Paul? What do we call you, Mr. Webb?
Just Paul. You can call me whatever you want, Steve.
Just Paul. Go on then. I suppose you were ringside last night, weren't you?
Well, yes and no. I had a press seat, but they had massively oversubscribed it, so I was sat in one of the blocks. I was there for the whole show. There was an awful lot of fights on the card, but there were quite a few stoppages early doors, so they sort of managed to rattle through them quite quickly. I mean, listening to what you guys have said, echo my sentiments. I've always been a big sort of Amir Khan fan. He's one of the main reasons I heavily got into the sport. He's sort of running at the Olympics all those years ago. He he's one of only two or three fighters in the world who, when I watch, I never look down at my phone. I never look around the arena. I watch him all the time because he's always one moment away from disaster. And last night he several times, I think it was twice, he was saved by the bell. That right hand that put him down, it was a heavy, heavy punch. And I've always been against the argument that Khan is a chinny fighter. It's not that he's a chinny fighter, it's just that he constantly puts himself in positions where he's susceptible to big punches. The Canelo right hand, he had his left arm down by his side. The shot last night was exactly the same. Uh, the positive is the win, but the issue I've got is that whereas before he was always susceptible to being hurt, but he sort of got around that in a lot of fights by just being so quick and his flurry of punches really overwhelming opponents. If you watch like the first half of the Madonna fight, where it's not that he's hitting powerful shots, but they're just so accurate and so quick. But last night they weren't. I felt that his punches, a lot of the time, they were almost sort of cuffing punches. The last sort of 3 or 4 rounds of the fight, I don't know what it looked like on TV, but from the arena, he looked like he was on his bike. I mean, Vargas in the presser after the fight said pretty much the same thing. He just went, in the end, he goes, I just couldn't catch up to him. And he really got a move on. And the only thing I will say, Amir Khan, his intention is Manny Pacquiao. I mean, he was asked at the presser 20, 30 times. It was by various different people. And Hearn sat next to him. You can tell that he wants Brook. But Manny is Amir's choice because it's a huge fight. I think Amir is looking for one big payday. And I don't think he wants it in a Kell Brook fight. I don't think he'll fight Manny over here. I think it will be in the States. And I think that's the direction he'll go. I think he knows if he carries on at this level, he will lose to a low caliber opponent or a medium caliber opponent. He just wants a few £1 million in a big sign-off fight. And, as much as like the Sky said about the viewing figures last night, I think a big part of that was the fact that it was straight after an England game. So there'd be a lot of people that would have carried on watching from then. But he is popular. I've not seen the arena that full in a long time. There was a good probably 7,500, 8,000 in there, which for Birmingham is pretty decent.
Andrew Robinson never sold those type of tickets, Paul, no?
The Animal did never sell that amount of tickets. We've had some shows where they've been, the whole top end's been curtained off. I mean, the Birmingham boxing it's a bit up and down. We've had obviously Eggington. I'll go through the rest of the card if you want me to. I mean,
yeah, go on.
The Eggington. I'll start with Eggington just for the pure madness of it. I've never seen anything like it. We've seen guys get knocked out and lose fights they shouldn't. I mean, the fight I compare that most to is the Kirkland Ishida. In terms of Eggington having that fight was so pointless. He's in the gym all the time. He's always fit and he's always on weight. So the whole point of that last night was just a chance for Eddie Hearn to go ringside afterwards and go, oh, and guess what? Brandon Rios, September 22nd, it's done. They could have done that in a press release. They didn't need to do that with a fight against a guy who they knew nothing about. No one knew much about him apart from that video of him fighting on what looked like the Pirates of the Caribbean decking. And he battered him. I mean, the referee, Kevin Parker, bless him, gave Sam 30 seconds longer than he should have done to try and sort himself out in that second round. And he just couldn't. His head didn't move, hands by his side, and he got stopped. And, he's a young fighter, but he's had some difficult fights and some wars, and he's taken a lot of punishment. And someone was saying in the chat earlier, asking me, where do I think he goes from there? And I really don't know. I think he needs a long break and if he can try and kind of rebuild himself. But it was a shocker. I mean, I was there mainly for Wellborn Langford because I do a bit of work for the company that promote Wellborn. And that was just a brilliant fight. Again, it was a carbon copy of the first one where Wellborn had him hurt badly early on, dropped him early on, this time with an additional knockdown as opposed to just the one in the first fight. But Langford's just, hard as nails. He just kept coming back at him, overwhelming him with punches. I thought Jason slowed down a lot in the second half of the fight, but just managed to close it out. I had it by a point to Wellborn. I thought that was about right, but it was same as the first one. Very, very competitive, very close. I mean, I don't know if it was as good as the first one. Maybe the first one, seeing it pretty much for the first time, it left a bigger impression. But yeah, no, it was a good show. But again, there are a lot of stoppages, a lot of knockouts, but a lot of question marks coming out of that. I don't know what AMIR Khan has left. Sam Eggington, I don't know what he's going to do. Wellborn's going to fight Heffron. Gamal Yafai looked a bit slow and ponderous. He's hurt. I don't know if it was right or his left hand was in a sling at the end of the fight. And Ritson was, again, opponents that like Ritson was in with, he was never going to learn an awful lot.
Paul, tell me about Scott Fitzgerald, because Ozzy obviously is a big proponent of Fitzgerald. He knows him, and I trust Ozzy. You know, he knows his boxing, and he says that Fitzgerald is a talent. I'll be honest, I've seen Fitzgerald fight 2 or 3 times now, and I've been underwhelmed. I haven't been impressed with him. What am I missing? Will he perform higher whenever the levels of opposition, i.e. an Anthony Fowler, are put in there with him?
No, I mean, he was losing to Craig Morris. I mean, you could say it was close or there was a round in it, but Craig Morris was, I've seen fight quite a few times, and he was dictating the pace. He was really in it. I think that the mistake that Craig made is he come out for the 10th round, and I think he was almost compelled that he had to go out and win it. And I don't think he really did. It could have been one of those fights. I don't know what the scoring was, but where he could have lost it sort of 96, 94. But I thought Fitzgerald started really well, and he looked flashy. The first 2 or 3 rounds, he looked decent, but then he just doesn't. His punch output wasn't particularly good, and Morris is sort of an experienced fighter and just outworked him, I thought. I mean, it's the second time I've seen Fitzgerald fight, first time up close, and there was nothing about him that made me think, yeah, he's going to be something special. Could he beat Anthony Fowler? Possibly, because Fowler, we just don't know, do we? We've not seen him tested in the pro level at any stretch. So that could be a fight that Fitzgerald wins, but there's nothing about him that I saw that made me think that, you know, he's going to be, I suppose, as good of a fighter as someone here would believe he was. I mean, I met Ozzy last night at the show, which was good, getting to chat to him. And like I said, he was certainly from the undercard, he wasn't the standout. Ritson looks good. I like the look of Ritson. And again, he didn't fight down to his opponent like some people do. But no, Fitzgerald Fowler's a toss-up fight just because we don't know what Fowler's got. But I don't see any sort of star quality there as such.
And just finally, Paul, before we let you go, what about next week, the big one, Canelo Triple G? Any thoughts on that?
Hope Triple G wins. Want Triple G to win. If you were to split them down every single category in terms of boxing skill, power, movement, everything possibly down to apart to size, because Canelo is huge when he fights up at that weight. Golovkin's better than him. I think it would be good. We have these fights every now and again where it's the right result for the sport, and whether you're a big Canelo fan or not, we need Golovkin to win this fight. Canelo can come again, but after what happened with the drugs tests, and there are people that would argue it one way or another, but I think we all know that there was something not quite right going on there. And after the scoring for the first fight, which again was just crap, it would be nice if Golovkin wins. I'd like a conclusive finish. In rematches, you always want that. If I was to put my money on it, I would say Golovkin points. But I'm hoping for something, like I say, a bit more conclusive from Gennady.
Brilliant stuff, Paul. If you want to come on in the future, just hit me up. Thanks for coming on again with us.
Absolutely. Cheers, Dave.
All the best. Bye now.
Bye.
Press pass Paul David, just known as Paul now. He's back with us. Bellew of the Week's also coming up later. We've still got Rob Kelly with us. We've got Gabe. I'm going to be coming to you soon, Gabe, on the flyweights. Andy, going to be coming to you shortly on Hrgovic's performance. Before we go to all that, I've got Dominic coming on as well. And also, I'm going to be ringing up our next guest, our third and final guest of the evening very shortly. Hit thumbs up in the chat, everybody. Good to see a vibrant chat as there was last night. Anyway, hey to Dave. Let's go on to you. Question from Liam Wynn. He says, performance aside from Sam Eggington, he took 11 clean punches to the face before the referee jumped in. His corner man didn't even have the towel in his hand ready to save him. What's your thoughts, Dave, on the Eggington stoppage? I think he did this before, didn't he, against Paulie Malignaggi? I'll just take so many punches. But this guy, you know, the Tanzanian pugilistic syndicate champion, he wasn't backing down. He got Sam out of there.
Yeah, this guy could actually punch. Plus, he's up a weight, which, you know, I think one of the things that made him competent and good. I mean, as good as he was never that good. Competent and like at least somewhat effective at before was that he was at a lower weight and he had that size advantage. He was boiling down. Now he doesn't have that, even though he still looked big in there. He looked fit. I don't know what the hell he is. His defense is like those, like that lady who was fat and just like took pic. There's a gif of it. You know, it's a good gif. Just taking punches like Homer Simpson is basically his defense. I was hoping that the ref would let it go on, honestly, because he didn't seem like he was hurt bad, and you know, the stoppage isn't something I can complain about. But I wanted to see him get dropped at least once, see what that Tanzanian guy could really do, because I mean he was throwing a lot and he was missing a good bit too. It was an impressive performance. The guy was in shape. He immediately screamed, "I want Kell Brook" afterwards. Gotta like that. And he took the opportunity in front of him. But I wanted to see like what like could he sustain that attack? It's hard to tell. Like I don't think Eggington had any chance of coming back in that fight, but I would have liked to see him get dropped and see what happened then. See, let the guy finish it in style. I mean, he did a good job of it, but I don't know. I like to see guys get dropped at least once, usually. So yeah, that was
he stopped it too late, you maniac. he stopped it.
No,
I can't criticize about 20 seconds too late.
I can't criticize it. I'm just saying what I'd like to have seen, because I'm a sadist and we love this brutality. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to see him go down. I wanted to see him out cold. You know, I guess I'm a little spoiled by the UFC card last night. We had some lovely stoppages and brutal knockouts. Yeah, so but it was fun. Eggington got thrashed, and that's to be expected of him. I mean, he's lost and looked poor against some very mediocre guys. Now he's moved up a weight. You know, this is what happens. It's funny though that it happened just right when Eddie wants to announce the Brandon Rios fight and make it a big show. I mean, what the hell is Brandon Rios doing up at 154 anyway?
Eating.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been awful. Like Eggington probably would have won that fight because he would have been in shape, and Rios wouldn't have been. So that would have been terrible. It would have been a fun fight to watch, but Eddie would have just said, "Look, he just beat the former champion. He's world level." So yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen. I'm glad the plans blew up in Eddie's face. And yeah, for the winner, the guy, he has a lot to prove. I mean, the guy had lost he won his last fight, but before that he lost. I didn't see the fight, but the cards have him losing every round, and he got dropped. So I mean, how good can this guy really be? His fitness levels and his power appear to be both solid. But let's see him against someone else. I have to favor Kell Brook against him right now, obviously. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him again. You know, it could be like Ndongo, though. You know, he has that big moment, and then, you know, never really does much again.
Thanks, Dave Loback, aka Steve Schmoger. You got an impression there from Dave tonight. Joining us on the call, we have our third and final guest of the evening. Delighted to welcome Josh Conroy from Welsh White Collar Boxing. How are you, Josh?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Thanks for joining us this evening. First of all, just get straight stuck in there. Tell us all about Welsh White Collar Boxing. It's something that you've just recently started up. Is that right?
Yeah, so it was something that I wanted to do when I was 18, but I just didn't really have the funds behind me myself to actually go forward with it. Didn't know enough people really, you know, in the world of boxing to make it happen. But now, you know, I'm a bit older, a bit wiser, and I've been able to make it happen now. It's taken quite a while. I think I started sort of looking into it in March, and only in July we were then able to start to you know, take sign-ups and sell tickets then.
Have you taken part in the white collar scene yourself, Josh?
Yeah, 2016 I signed up with Ultra White Collar Boxing, and immediately, you know, got the bug. I went through my 8-week training camp in Cardiff. I fought in Cardiff against a guy that was, I mean, I'm 6 foot, but I fought against a guy who was about 6'6". He had 3 stone in weight on me. It was a bit of a mismatch, but I held my own in there. Narrowly lost on points, but ever since then, I just sort of fell in love with the sport and really wanted to make it happen myself then, you know. I've seen areas with the Ultra White Collar Boxing that I thought I could improve and just sort of make it a more personal experience for fighters. So that's what we're trying to do, really.
And regarding the training, it's obviously charity linked. If you want to say something about the mental health charity, and also about the 8 weeks of free training, if you want to tell us about the process that the white collar boxers will go through.
Yeah, so we're fundraising for Mind Mental Health. So in my local community, which is a small town called Aberdare, I mean, in the last sort of 3-4 months alone, 3 people have taken their life through mental health issues. So although none of them were very close friends of mine, I did know them all, and seeing the effect it had on the community, really made me want to strive to raise money for Mind and actually raise awareness for mental health, because it is a massive, it's having a massive impact on everybody at the moment, I think. So yeah, that's why we chose Mind, and with their training, I'm actually up to the 12 weeks now for this first event, just because I want to make sure that all the fighters with work, where they got work commitments, I just wanted to make sure that they all had enough time to get ready, because it is grueling. It's hard on the body. You've got to go in there fit. So I just wanted to give everyone a fair chance to actually get in the best possible shape they can, and show what they can do on fight night, because with work and everything, it is tough.
And fight night in this case will obviously be Friday the 7th of December at the Vale Arena in Cardiff. How can people get tickets, and what can we expect in that particular event?
Well, tickets, with it being we've almost sold out already. I think we've got about 60 tickets left for the first batch that I've released. But I've already had a couple of people messaging me tonight asking about them. I'm thinking of actually increasing it now to maybe 500-600 people, because originally we released 400 tickets for the event, but they've nearly gone already. If anybody did want to come and watch, then just get in touch with either myself through the website, or through social media, or any of the fighters that's on the card, because they'll all be selling tickets. I've asked them all to sell 15 each, and raise a minimum of £50, and so far they're all absolutely smashing it.
The website there that Josh is referring to, everybody, is www.cb.co.uk. That's www.cb.co.uk. You're also on Twitter. What's your Twitter there, Josh? Just remind me.
So I haven't got one set for the actual company at the moment, but my personal one is 507. So that's CONROY and then 1507. So I'll be releasing info on there, and then I'll be starting up a Welsh white collar boxing Twitter handle very shortly as well.
When it comes to the organisational side of things, what kind of medical guidelines are there about having things like St John's Ambulance? And obviously, even though it isn't professional or amateur or whatever, people are still punching each other in the head. What kind of guidelines are there regarding all the safety issues?
Yeah, you've got to have an ambulance on site, which is obviously very, very important, because I mean, although we don't expect anything to happen, it's crucial that we've got something there just in case it does. We've also got 2 paramedics. We've got somebody with a defibrillator. I don't know if I said that right. They'll be on site, as well as the fighters all have pre and post checks as well. So it'd be things like heart rate, blood pressure, just to make sure that they're safe to fight on the night. And then after the fight, they'll be assessed as well, just to make sure there's no after effects of their fight. Before they even start their training, they'll go through just like a self-assessment form, where if they've got any underlying medical issues, they've got to let us know, so we can advise them in the best possible way then.
And are there any checks and balances in place as far as you can regarding the matchmaking and that type of stuff? Because I do remember a few years ago, a guy, I didn't know him, but he ended up in a white collar event, and I think it was the first one that he'd ever done. And his opponent had been a former amateur, and nobody knew about this. And he emptied him. He really gave the kid a beating. I mean, is there any way of mitigating against that? It's difficult.
I think in later events it'll be difficult, but I know a lot of the fighters that have signed up, because they're all from my local area. There's a few that have come from Cardiff and a couple of other towns outside of the local area, but the majority are local. But the matchmaking itself will actually be done by the trainer, who is he's a former professional. It's his gym, but it's actually his younger brother who's going to be putting them through their training camp. I mean, there are some pre-made fights, so two of the boys, or two fights, or four of the boys have actually come forward and said they wanted to fight each other at the moment. So they're quite similar in weight anyway. Whether their ability matches up, I think we'll have to look at that in training and then sort of assess there. But at the moment, we've got two fights made, and hopefully they're able to go ahead with no sort of no wondering, I suppose, whether it's the right thing to do. We'll know, and we'll make the right decision closer to the time.
Sounds good. Just finally as well, before we let you go, Josh, what's your own background in the sport? I mean, sort of, basic, like favourite fighters. Do you get to go to many pro shows?
Well, I've been to watch AJ. I went to watch him when he fought Takan. I know Morgan Jones, so I try and go and support him in local shows. I don't know if you know much about Morgan.
Yeah, fought Joe Pigford, didn't he? Is that the guy?
What's that?
Is he the guy who fought Joe Pigford, or am I thinking of somebody else?
I'm not sure. He fought on the Joshua undercard against in the Parker boy in the Parker camp.
Okay, right. And
he dominated the fight. Won every round, dropped the boy in the last, and then got stopped in the final 8 seconds. He's going to learn from that. He's going to bounce back. He's a very, very good technical boxer. As far as my background in the sport, I mean, I've only done the one white collar event, but I still train. I still spar in the gym. And I would love to do it again one day. So maybe once this event's out the way, and we move forward, perhaps I'll sort of get involved in the next one and see where we can go. But I love it.
Yeah, the Joe Pigford opponent was a guy called Aaron Morgan, so I got the Morgan part right. But anyway, don't worry about that. It's wwcb.co.uk, everybody. This is obviously, Josh doing a good job here. He's making sure everything's on point. And so if you want to get involved and you're in that type of area, it will be in the Vale Arena, Cardiff, on Friday, the 7th of December, their inaugural show. So go and support it if you can. Any final plugs or any final messages you want to leave us with, Josh?
Well, we're looking for a sponsor for our backdrop, which will be obviously behind the fighters when they have all their face-off pictures, their weigh-in pictures. If anybody knows of anyone who might be interested in sort of sponsoring that for us, or if anyone wants to donate to the event or put anything up for maybe a raffle on the night, something we can use to really raise money for Mind, then I'd be very, very grateful. So, yeah, thanks.
Excellent stuff. Thanks for joining us, Josh. We appreciate it, and feel free to come on in the future if there's any updates or whatever. You can maybe come and let us know how the show went. The Sunday after it takes place.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Cheers, Josh. See you now. And he's gone, Josh Conroy there. Yeah, well, that's the Welsh white-collar boxing crowd. I don't know if you've ever white-collar boxed, Gabe, but I'd say you'd be handy enough with the fists, wouldn't you, Mr. Texas Tornado?
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Have you ever had to knock a brother out in the streets if anyone ever tried to tap up your missus or something?
No, this is Texas. We're goddamn civilized people here. Nobody pulls that kind of bullshit because you're about to get your ass whipped if you do.
Or that you have a gun. So.
That too. That's always a pretty good deterrent. No, I mean, a few dust-ups whenever I was a young man, but nothing as of the last probably 15 years. So, but yeah, I mean, if the time's there, we need to do it. We'll go. No worries.
Gabe, talking of dust-ups, what about the one in California last night? Juan Francisco Estrada getting a unanimous decision win over Felipe Oracuta. Donny Nietes, a surprising split draw against Aston Pelicte and Kazuto Ioka in the best fight of the night, I think. 10-round decision over McWilliams Arroyo. It wasn't really what we expected for Superfly. I wanted better opponents. I thought the left-hand side of the column, Estrada, Nietes, Ioka was fine, but the opponents really weren't good enough. How did it transpire, Gabe? Did it meet your expectations? Was it better or worse than you thought?
Considering what we've seen from the Superfly cards, I thought it was a little bit lackluster. I was really excited for the card. I'm a pretty big Estrada fan, so I was eager to see his fight most of all. And I hadn't even paid attention to the rest of the card because I just hadn't really paid much attention to what was coming up. But whenever I saw that Ioka was fighting, I thought that I was curious as to how he'd look given his long layoff. I mean, basically retired. is what had happened, and he had a pretty brilliant career so far. One split decision loss, and I mean, he's a fun guy to watch. He started young and he moved up the weights really quickly. So I was eager to see what he was going to do, and I think you're right. I think he did put on the fight of the evening out there in California. I thought that was probably the best performance by a single guy. I thought that he just looked too fast, too active, and he just all around had too much for Arroyo. Going on to the Nietes fight, I actually quit watching that one in favor of the Showtime card because I was flipping back and forth, and I was seeing what I thought was a really clear, pretty evident blowout by Donnie Nietes, and then I flipped it back over, and they're talking about a draw. Are you kidding me? A draw? I didn't even have to watch the whole fight to know that it wasn't even close. So I was pretty shocked by that. I think a lot of people were. I didn't go back and rewatch it yet to see if I could figure out exactly what happened or what somebody was seeing. The only thing that I could think of that made actual sense was that the guy that scored it for what's the other guy's name?
Sorry, which fight are you talking about, Gabe? Sorry, I was bringing something else up.
Nietes and what was his opponent's name?
It was Palicte, Aston Palicte.
Palicte, yeah. See, I couldn't remember it. The only thing I could think that actually made sense was that in that card, the guy was actually writing the scores down on the wrong side of his score sheet because it was not even possible. I didn't think to see it that way. And then the Estrada fight was good. It was actually a really good fight. A lot more competitive than I thought it would be. I wonder if Juan Francisco Estrada went in thinking it would be a little bit easier than it was going to be, maybe overlooking his opponent. But I know that the guys showed up ready to fight. So all around, it was a pretty solid card, top to bottom. I mean, but that's kind of what you're getting with HBO anymore. You're going to get maybe a good fight or two, depending on how many fights they're showing off a card. And then the rest of them are going to be mismatches because they're so ingrained in that mindset of having to build a fighter for their network that they do that kind of shit. And there's just really no mediating factors there. They're so just bound and determined that they have to build a star for their network only that they do these gross mismatches at times. And I think that we're going to continue to see that. I mean, I think they're already working on that with Jaime Munguia, among others. And HBO, the card, me yesterday night lacked any enthusiasm. From the announced crew, I thought.
Gabe, talking to the announced crew and talking to HBO, I thought it was interesting how they were very vocal, Jim Lampley especially, about criticising the judges and their scoring, while meanwhile Harold Lederman was putting in his own scorecards all over the shop right next to them.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
Lederman's washed, by the way. Did you hear him last night? He sounded drunk.
He did sound bad last night. I thought it was overall typical of what I've come to expect from HBO. I mean, they've gone downhill big time in a big way the last few years. And if it wasn't for the occasional decent fight that shows up on there and for the occasional Superfly card that they put on, I really probably wouldn't have any subscription left to their channel. It's just complete rubbish on a day in, day out basis over there. They hardly put on cards. When they do, you get maybe a good fight mixed with some shit in there. So it's always all over the place. HBO is just, I used to be vocal about how much better they were than Showtime, but production value, everything is in favor of Showtime, and HBO is so garbage. The Superfly cards were a glimmer of hope, but last night kind of just shit all over that.
Yeah, they were going on about Estrada as if they hadn't seen him before, about, oh, he's getting hit too much. Sure, he always gets hit too much. Right, anyway, Andy, we don't want to hit you too much before the evening's out. I want to hear your opinions on Superfly, but more than that, Andy, before you come in on that, I want to hear your opinions on the Croatian card. You were putting up streams last night saying Filip Hrgović was going to go in with AMIR Mansour. I didn't manage to see it myself. We were speculating last week, weren't we, Andy, about Mansour? How much would he have to offer? He got knocked out in the third round. How did it transpire?
He basically had it all his own way. Hrgović, obviously, I think it was his first fight with Pedro Diaz, the Cuban trainer. And to be honest, I think Mansour pretty much quit mentally after the first round, because he was caught up. I think it was late in the round by Picha right hand actually as he's tucked into the corner, and just basically the onslaught for there just basically kind of continued. I'd just like to see Hrgović maybe. I'd like to see him kind of maybe tune up with kind of Klitschko. I mean, the guy's 6'6", and sometimes I kind of just think he could maybe dominate the way Klitschko did actually with the long hands, get on the jab. Because a lot of his work in that doesn't seem to be kind of doing a lot of damage. He's kind of pawing and flicking out with the jab and that. I just think he needs to kind of tighten it up a little bit. But as I say, it's probably getting the third round. Mansour was probably trying to get back to it, in the third round. But he took a couple of, I think it was a left and a right hand combination he took, and he took a knee, and I think he got up and then he got dropped again and stuff. So to be honest, in the hindsight thing, I know I said last week that it was probably a better opponent than Gary Cornish, but to that point, Mansour is 46, and how long a training camp did they have in that at the same time as? I know he was, we said he was supposed to be better, but based off that, actually, he never really offered or tested any sort of resistance or gave any problems to Hrgović and that. So, again, as I say, probably kind of step up in class now required. I think he's 26, 27 now, so I like to see him kind of stepped up in that. But I like to see him also kind of work on his defence, work on his jab and that as well. Clearly a talent, but how far he goes, it's too soon to say.
Andy, do you reckon that flicking out the jab is coming from Diaz?
No, it's not so much flicking at the jab, mate. It's the way he does it. He's kind of he's got the kind of left hand kind of moving over the place. He'll bring it out wide and trying to kind of turn it into a hook, and then he'll flick out the jab. But the right hand's clearly his best shot.
Yeah, definitely.
Very, very straight puncher though.
Andy, going down in weights. What about Superfly? What caught your eye?
Ioka, really impressed and surprised, especially being out the ring for 18 months. Andre Ward was also impressed as well. Good body shots, left hooks, right hands, uppercuts and stuff. Arrojo, for all intents and purposes, I would need to say is probably a top 10 or even a top 15 ranked super flyweight. So it was a really good performance by Ioka. Only caught 7 rounds of Estrada, and that it did seem to be slightly repetitive, but I did think he was winning the fight.
Yeah.
As for the first fight of the card with Nietes and was it Palestitia, his name is? It's these scorecards are an absolute fucking joke. I mean, you've got Daniel Sadaval gave it 118 to 110 in Nietes, and then you've got the other guy winning 116, 112 or 114, 114 scorecard. Nietes, I think, got hosed. He won the fight. I don't think he won at 118, 110. I think maybe like 116, 112, 115, 113 in Nietes was probably fair. I can see why their scorecards fair enough, but I just think after 4 rounds, I had it 2 each. So you kind of say to me that that he never won another couple of rounds in between then. So I just thought the scorecards were slightly too wide. Nietes certainly been robbed. And the other thing as well is, there's a reason why we've not had many Filipinos fighting off each other in world title fights. That was the first world title fight between 2 Filipinos in 93 years. Technical, all that sort of stuff, but it's it was a bad result at the end of the day. I thought Nietes definitely won that fight. Definitely got hosed. As I said, Ioka, Estrada is a rating out of the 3 cards. I think it's probably ranks below the first 2 got to be, but certainly Ioka basically stole the show for me on last night's performance.
Was that the first, Andy, since what we were talking about, the Pancho Villa sort of era?
93 years ago, so with Pancho Villa, who was the guy he fought to?
Wasn't Guerrero or one of them, was it? I can't remember. No, Guerrero would have been dead by then.
Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Not to worry.
It begins with a G. I know what you're talking about. Pancho Villa. It's not
Gennaro. Yeah.
General Ganzo. I fucking forget, mate. Sorry.
Not to worry. I don't think anyone will be picking up on that. Right, we're bringing Dominic in a minute. You're Dennis Ugas. I think he's in line for a shot at El Spence Jr. Now he fought against Cesar Barria Nuevo. He was pretty damn poor, that opponent. He barely threw anything. They should look into rescinding his purse or something. I don't know. Maybe that's a bit harsh. No Aussie or Smidos, no odds for you tonight, unfortunately. Don't forget to go over to our friend Lewis's magazine as well. He was on last week. Big Right Hook. I know a lot of the boys have got in touch. He's got a few new writers. He's got people buying copies. It's BIGWRITEHOOK, by the way. A few problems with that during the week. It's right, as in written, as in writing. Big Right Hook, everybody. Go and find Lewis. He's doing a good job over there. Dominic, I know you want to talk about Canelo Golovkin. We will be coming to that very shortly. Before we do so, what do you think of old AMIR Khan last night? Same as us, defensively flawed, but pretty damn exciting.
Yeah, pretty much, Steve. I mean, I don't really what I really want to talk about was actually Khan as opposed to Golovkin, Canelo. Yeah, I'm excited about. But in terms of Khan, I don't even know where to start, Steve. I mean, there's so much. It's like I thought. You know who I thought really summed it up really well? Do you know your man Gary Logan? I just saw a tweet that he put out last night. I'm just going to read it out because I think it just sums it up just perfectly here. He says, "Never improved technically a day in his life, Khan. Pure hand speed only. If you watch him, he doesn't actually slip and counter because he can't. It's purely block and counter like the very good amateur he once was." And I think that pretty much sums it up. And there was a few comments earlier. I don't know. I think you were reading them out, Steve, from guys who had... there was a guy, you were reading comments out from guys who had written in about the Khan fight last night, and one of them said they really feared for Khan in terms of getting it beaten. And yeah. I don't fear for Khan getting it beaten because he never lasts long enough to get it beaten, Steve. He's not. Whenever he loses a fight, he doesn't lose a fight. Like what I call a beaten is, if you remember, Gabe Rosado against Golovkin, that's a beaten. Curtis Stevens against Golovkin, they're beatens. Where your last 8-9 rounds and you take an absolute, for example, you think of Nick Blackwell when he was fighting Eubank, the latter rounds of that fight, that was a bit of a beating. Those are beatings. When Khan loses a fight, he loses a fight by, just getting as Rob said, getting his clock cleaned, and there's not enough time for him to get a beating. So I never worry about him getting a beating, but basically, what the likes of, when Andy was saying about, he should retire, I do basically agree. That's essentially right. And I think what Andy's really saying there, when people like that, when we're saying he should retire, he shouldn't have come back after the Canelo fight, because that was a sort of knockout where every time you see him getting hit with a big punch now, you see his head shaking, on the impact of the punch, and it doesn't look great at all. And I agree with what someone else earlier was saying about the people around Khan. Do they really have his best interests at heart? And I agree. I actually think the same about it's right about the people around Brook too. The whole Khan Brook thing, the comps, the people around him, it's the whole thing is just an absolute circus. And to sum up what I feel about it, Steve, if the fight never happened, I wouldn't actually be that disappointed. I wouldn't be shedding any tears. And the same actually with what I actually agree with what Matt Macklin said after the fight last night about, say, a potential Pacquiao-Khan fight. I wouldn't be interested in that either. I don't really have any interest to see Pacquiao and Khan. But I mean, with Khan, the other thing I would say about him is that if you look at his career, it's he's gone. Someone said this earlier, and it is very true. He's had a lot of good trainers, and he's never stuck long enough with one of them, and he's always He's never been able to digest the things that these people were trying to teach him. Like Freddie Roach was always religiously trying to teach him to duck under a left hook after throwing a right hand. But yet we saw what happened in the Donny Garcia fight. He kept getting caught with a left hook. Now, I don't know what that says, whether that says more about these trainers or whether it says more about AMIR. I think it probably says more about Khan. It's just his sheer sort of... whether it's his impatience or whether it's just that he's not a good student. But, I mean, if you think back to... I actually think in the Devon Alexander fight, that was the best I ever saw him perform. I wouldn't say the Maidana fight was his best performance, because if you look back to the Maidana fight, if that fight had been stopped, in the 10th round, I think that would have been a very legitimate stoppage. I'm not saying Khan, he won the fight legitimately. I'm not saying anything like that. But if the referee that night, I can't remember who it was, had to stop that fight.
Joe Cortez. I remember Maidana caught him with an elbow too, and he took a point.
Right. Well, the thing is, if that fight had been stopped, I don't think anyone could have complained. And so,
no,
but even
definitely Cortez saved his life that night. Definitely.
And if you think about the back in what the Cole Khan Brook dynamic, that fight, the time for that fight to happen was 2014. Now I know it was just to sum up the whole circus act that this is. In many ways, it was Brook's fault because he went out to Tenerife, didn't he? We know what happened in Tenerife because that's what happened. That happened immediately after the Porter fight. And
what happened in Tenerife, Dominic? I don't remember that.
What was it, Steve? Do you remember what Golovkin was saying? That there was one of those preview videos about. I'm just watching one or two of them about the Canelo fight coming up, and he's talking. The guy's asking him, "What did you do on the street in Carraganda, whatever young?" And he just pauses. He says, "Not legal." So that's what happened in Tenerife. But here, so Brook went out. That's what happened to Brook, and then. Khan, I think the Khan Alexander fight, if my memory serves me right, was December 2014. So it was about 3 months. Brook beat Porter in August 2014, and then the Khan beat Alexander in December. So in many ways, it was Brook's own fault. But that sort of region, that time, was when the fight should have happened. But the thing that also has annoyed me. And like I agree with what a lot of people like Big Tommy, for example, has always said about Khan or Kale has basically prostituted himself his entire career looking for the Khan fight. That's basically what he's been doing. But in the same way that Kale has been prostituting himself looking for the Khan fight, Khan prostituted himself looking for the Mayweather fight, looking for the Pacquiao fight. And they never happened, did they? They never happened. He never got either of those fights. And many people said that he never would get those fights. And I think really that's the biggest thing that says the fact that either the Pacquiao fight or the Mayweather fight didn't happen for our AMIR before the Canelo fight. That's really the proof that he should have taken the Brook fight if he was really interested in, a legacy, a fight that he could have got that would really burnish his legacy. I could never have seen him beating Pacquiao or Mayweather. People said he had the style that caused Floyd problems, but I could never see it, Steve. I mean, Kale always tried to justify his own chances against AMIR by saying Simon beat the speeds on it. But I think Floyd really would have proved that if he had fought AMIR. I think his timing would have really exposed AMIR's technical flaws, because I think Khan does have technical flaws, which is speed has long disguised throughout his career.
Did you notice last night, Dominic? Did you notice last night whenever Vargas hit him with that right hand in the second round, Khan went down almost the same as when Prescott caught him back in the day. That sort of back slip down onto the canvas.
And you know what reminded me of the Prescott knockout as well, Steve? He was trying to get up. He was trying to get up straight away again. I think in the Prescott fight, he was the mistake that people make when they're not experienced. They haven't had any experience of being dropped and they get up too quickly. I think he was trying to do that last night too. He got up, I think, probably too quickly after the knockout last night. But it's just the way he was. I thought the way he was fighting was very. He's always had. I think he's always had. He's never fully been able to shake off the amateur style in terms of a lot of the punches are very rapid fire. He never really sits down on punches. And that's just my personal preference has always been for the way Brook. I've always preferred Brook's style, the way he fights, the way he throws the punches,
planting his feet a bit more.
Yeah, sitting down a bit more in the shots. I just prefer it, but. I think if the fight does happen now, if it's at 147, I could see it going to points, and I wouldn't be sure who would win. But if it's in any weight other than 147, I think Brook will probably get to him and stop him. But I just think I honestly think, Steve, I think Khan's delusional. I think he's actually serious. I know a lot of in boxing, a lot of fighters slag each other off, and managers and promoters, everyone slags each other off with this saying you're delusional, you're delusional. But I actually think Khan is delusional. If you hear his interview after the fight, now maybe he was still concussed, which is a legitimate excuse because and that's happened to him quite a few times in his career. But if you listen to what he was saying after the fight, it never seems to register with him in his head that he's making really silly mistakes that a professional of his reputation shouldn't be making. The way he keeps getting caught over and over again with his chin in the air, he doesn't seem to understand that, he still seems to think that this doesn't damage my reputation as an elite welterweight. On that performance last night, I actually agree with what Johnny Nelson said after the fight. You wouldn't have him as a world-class welterweight on that performance last night. Definitely not.
Dominic, stick around because we are going to talk about Canelo and Golovkin. I'm going to go on to the undercard first, but stay with us and I'll come to you in a minute. Right, I'm going to give everyone one fight each off the undercard, starting with you, Rob Kelly, David Lemieux, Gary Spike O'Sullivan. Luke Keeler obviously was picking his former stablemate Spike. Lemieux showed that he's very, very one-dimensional against the better boxers, the likes of Billy Joe Saunders. But Spike, unless he can get on his bike and implement a bit of a jab and a bit of movement, he's probably going to be in front of him, and that generally doesn't bode well for guys against David Lemieux.
Yeah, that's I just want to say as well, like Dominic was saying, I think Brooke has definitely sat down on a lot of shots over the years.
Come on, Rob, that's cheap for you.
But I think, and I want to give a shout out to Richie O'Brien as well, a good lad. I bumped into him earlier. He listens to the pod and all that. But yeah, in terms of Sullivan versus Lemieux, interesting fight. Sullivan's going to have to grab this chance, isn't he, with both hands. I think he turned down the Golovkin fight in the end, didn't he? Because he had a fight lined up where they thought they could get this fight and then position him as mandatory for Canelo. So if Canelo should win, so I think that's the direction they're going. He's looking to grab the chance with both hands. If he loses this fight, he gives up. I kind of echo what Keeler was saying about him being a fresher guy. Like Lemieux, maybe he's had his day. He might struggle a little bit at the weight, but he can turn your lights out like with a shot, without a doubt. Just a touch vulnerable or something. Might be a bit broken after the Billy Joe defeat. What I'd say is normally for Lemieux though, when he does suffer a defeat, he normally comes back with a heavy knockout win. So I have to fight, maybe giving Spike the edge, but might have to overcome some difficulty. It's a fight I think if Spike gets him in trouble, similar to his last opponent. What was that guy's name? Greenfields or something. Anyway, when he got him in trouble and he got him out of there, I think if he's gonna win, he's gonna have to do it like that. But 50-50 fight for me, that one.
50-50. It was Antoine Douglas, I think, who possibly you're thinking of, Rob, was it? Antoine Douglas?
Yep, Mr. Greenfields. You're dead right, Steve.
Good stuff. Virgil Ortiz, 10-0, one to keep an eye on. A few people are high on him. Alexis Rocha, 11-0 is on the card as well. A couple of other undefeated guys. Andy, Chocolatito, very much towards the end of his career. Not only did he bought up, whenever Chocolatito came onto HBO, he wasn't just fighting for himself, he was fighting for the whole lower weight divisions. I think he was a standard bearer for your flyweights, your super flyweights. If it wasn't down to him, I don't think all these guys like Superfly would have even got onto HBO. So we have to thank Gonzalez for bringing that to the table. I really do think he was carrying all that on his shoulders. Unfortunately for him, Saw Rungvisai knocked that out of him dramatically in the second fight. I didn't think we'd see Gonzalez back again. We are seeing him back. What will he have left against this Moises Fuentes? Actually, this Fuentes, wasn't he last seen getting knocked out by Diego Higa? I think this is the perfect matchup for Gonzalez.
First round, yeah. I remember the last time I'd actually seen him as well. One fight I actually was surprised I'm getting stopped was against Kosi Tanaka, actually. So I think, looking at the pictures that I've seen of Gonzalez, that he does not look good. That said,
looks like a hobo, doesn't he? Like he
does,
could at least shave.
I mean, I watched him sparring the guy that beat Paddy Barnes and stuff like that. And what's his name again?
Christopher Rosales. They're related apparently distantly.
Yeah. Rosales was giving him a bit of a trimming him by a bit, tuning him up a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see where he's at. I'm assuming he's going to be at the full 115 limit. If not, might be a couple of pounds heavier in super flyweight, but. You would think with Fuentes, and I think he's maybe seen better days, but so is Gonzalez. Gonzalez is well up in age, Fuentes must be pushing at least the early 30s, not just now. I really don't know. I mean, to be honest, this guy, I think he's going to dwarf. He's going to dwarf the top of Gonzalez. So I don't know if that's going to work to his advantage. He's probably going to be giving up a lot of reach. That said, I would think, considering the guy's got a long torso, I would hope Gonzalez is going to try and work the body. He kind of moves. He kind of attacks and kind of L shapes, so he steps aside, throws a left hook and that. So that might be the shot for him to kind of then break down the defence and kind of come in with the right hand. But at this point, I think Gonzalez will probably win on points. I don't see him at this weight and this point in his career actually stopping anybody anymore. It's clearly his better days are past him. I think his apex or his final hurrah was the first fight against Rungvisai, and then they get beat like that in the rematch. Kind of tells to me. And then obviously we need to factor in his trainer dying in the manner in what he did. So they don't know if that's had a knock-on effect as well.
Yeah,
but
I think it did, Andy.
I just think at this weight, at this age, and at this point in his career, it's just a step too far to kind of think he's going to win by stoppage. I think maybe he'll probably win maybe 4 or 5 points on the cards. If he gets stopped, then I'm going to say, I'll hold my hands up and say I got it absolutely wrong and he needs to retire after that.
Well said, Andy. Hey, to Dave, I don't have anything for you on this card, so I'm going to give you a bit of time here to gather yourself and come to you on the Jose Carlos Ramirez Antonio Orozco fight, which is on ESPN Plus the night before on Friday, the 14th of September. So you get stuck into that one, Dave. Get the books out. Gabe, let's come to you on Jaime Munguia. He's out pretty quickly, actually, after beating Liam Smith. He obviously smashed up Saddam Ali before that. He's fighting against Brandon Cook. Did Brook duck Cook? What do you think, Gabe? He was supposed to fight Kell Brook, wasn't he? Unfortunately, he didn't come off, but I'm glad he's getting himself a shot of some description. WBO super welterweight titles on the line. If Munguia is anything like we think he is, Gabe, he's probably going to bash this Cook about, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think he is. And I would rather see Munguia get tested, taken to deep waters, and show some actual skill instead of nothing but size. I mean, he's one of those guys, he's just getting by on his size. Similar to the way Broner did early on in his career, whenever he was at lower weights, he was making it through on size. And Munguia is an extreme case.
You right, Gabe?
Sorry, I think he's similar to Jarrett Hurd in that regard. That they're big guys, they're flipping huge for their division, but they don't really show a whole lot of skill. I mean, the last fight we saw Munguia, he ate a lot of punches that if there was some mustard on him and somebody that was throwing him with a little bit more power, he would have been in some trouble. I mean, he would have been in some legitimate, serious trouble. I tend to think it's probably not just the beard that they have on them. They have a stout chin, but I mean, look how big they fucking are. These guys are huge for the divisions they're fighting in. And I want to see Munguia get some hurt put on him and see what he really has to do then. Because I think if he goes up and starts fighting guys his own size, he's going to be in for a rude awakening, and he's going to be shown very quickly to be average at best. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to see. I don't think we're gonna. It should be a good night for Munguia. I think he's going to win pretty handy, but I would like to see otherwise.
Okay, Dave, hope you're ready for us. This is actually a decent fight on the Friday night. 22-0, Jose Carlos Ramirez. He was supposed to defend his WBC super lightweight title against Danny O'Connor, I think, wasn't he? But O'Connor had some really bad weight issues and wasn't able to take the fight, and it got cancelled at the 11th hour. He's fighting against Antonio Orozco, who's 27-0, 17 knockouts. Decent fighter, Orozco. I think this is a good scrap from Bob Arum. I'm going to give him a pat on the back for this, Dave. What do you think on Friday night?
Could be. You didn't give me enough time to actually watch the guys fight. I've only seen one of them fight, and it was Orozco against Gibson. Early knockout. Didn't really get a chance to see much of what he is about. So I can't stylistically break this fight down because I don't really know how each guy fights. But they both have a healthy percentage of knockouts. Ramirez has fought the higher quality of opposition. I am favoring... also, he's been more active. Orozco only fought once last year. Fought earlier this year, but I would have to say Ramirez is going to take this on points. He beat Amir Imam on points. So I'm going to pick Ramirez just based on greater experience. Although he's not, I don't think he's had as many fights, I guess, but he's fought the better guys.
Thanks, Dave. Top breakdown from Dave there. Right, Dominic, don't worry too much about Ramirez Orozco. Take us into the big one. Give us your thoughts. Canelo Golovkin, I know you're a little bit worried about the judges last time. No such judge issues this time. How's it going to go? Come on, Dominic, lay it all on the line.
Well, the judges are fantastic. They're the three best in the business. What is it? It's Weisfeld, Moretti, and who's the third? Who's the third one, Steve?
Is it Feldman?
Yes, Steve. I guess Glenn Feldman. Yep, he's Connecticut, I think. So they're the three best judges. So and who's the referee? Is it the
Benji Estevez? They rejected Tony Weeks, didn't they, Abel Sanchez?
Yes.
I don't understand that.
Well, I think it might have had something to do. I remember reading a few months ago that it had something to do with a fight that Sanchez was involved in, one of his other fighters, and I think there was something about the instructions that Weeks was given in the changing room before the fight. This was one of I don't know which of Sanchez's fighters it was, but Sanchez was trying to ask Weeks's get clarification from Weeks on one particular point of the instructions that Weeks was given, and he didn't. Weeks, there was a bit of a confrontation between the two of them, and I think that's why Golovkin's team have probably Sanchez has objected to Tony Weeks. Now, I usually like Tony Weeks, but I've gone off him since his performance in the second Kovalev Ward fight, which I thought left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, do you know who I would have liked to have seen, Dominic, but he was refereeing last night? My man Steve Willis.
Oh, yeah. But I think, because, there's no reason why it couldn't have been Steve Willis, Steve, because if Benji Estevez is being brought in from, usually they don't bring in, that's why it's quite rare for a big Las Vegas fight that they get a non-Vegas or a non-Nevada referee.
And Weisfeld's being brought in from New York, isn't he?
And I think Feldman's Connecticut. So the only Las Vegas official is Dave Moretti. And
Feldman's only the second best judge in Connecticut, though. We all know who the first is. Shout out to Trella Senior.
But we know why he's been put out the posture for this fight. Well, we all know the reason why, Steve, don't we?
I'm saying nothing. He's not here to defend himself.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean, it should be okay from that standpoint. But you know what? I'll be honest, Steve. I haven't been following a lot of what's been going on over the last, as you know, the last 6-7 months. So I'm out of the loop with a lot of things. But I would probably echo what Press Pass Paul was saying earlier. Isn't that what you call him?
Yeah, that's right.
I think he's probably spot on. I don't have a lot more to add other on top of that. I mean, I think Golovkin is slowing down, but I think I was reading comments from Big Bunsey. This was on one of those BBC podcasts a few weeks ago. I didn't listen to it, but I was reading what he said, and he was just saying that, I think it's right, Golovkin's one of these fighters who, although he's getting on and he's probably 2 or 3 years, I'd say 3 years. His peak was probably around the time he fought Lemieux. That was the last of his peak. And I think since then he's probably been on the decline. But I think his decline isn't as sort of quick as other fighters, simply because he lives such a healthy. He strikes me as one of these fighters who lives a very clean life, and I think that slows the pace of his decline as a fighting force. And I think that's why I would give him a tentative nod to get a victory on points here. And I think the other thing I would say is anyone who does beat him, whoever beats him, is going to have to go through hell to beat him, because as we've seen, his punch resistance is quite rare. It's rare that you see someone taking the punches that he took. Some of the clean punches he took from Canelo, and potentially a Canelo who was being boosted by illegal substances. The way the punches that he can take, his toughness, and the way he's constantly on you, putting that mental pressure on you. The way Matthew Macklin described it, sort of sapping that nervous energy by constantly being on you. It means that whoever beats him is going to have to be prepared to go through quite a hellish experience to achieve it. I don't when I look at Canelo, I sometimes doubt if things get really, if a fight gets really life and death. In many ways, the last 3 rounds of the first fight will contradict what I'm about to say, but because he really pulled it out of the fire the last 3 rounds of the first fight this time last year. But I've always got the sense looking at him when he's been in a tight fight that if things really got life and death, like say for example off the top of my head a Corrales Castillo fight, and maybe he's one of these fighters, he'll be too good to never allow himself to be dragged into one of those fights. But if he was in that situation, I've always got the sense that he doesn't have he's not prepared to basically do anything that's required to win, whereas leaving aside cheating obviously, but when I look at Golovkin, I think, you know, he would I wouldn't have any doubts about him you know, in that sense of being prepared to walk through thunder or whatever it is to get the job done. So I don't think in terms of what type of fight it'll be, Steve, I honestly don't think it'll be that much different a fight to what it was last September. I think it'll be broadly similar. I think, you know, I've seen a lot of people talk about how Golovkin needs to go to the body more, that he didn't go to the body enough. You know, when I hear people say this stuff, Steve, I find myself scratching my head. These people like this don't understand. You can't just see people who say you have to go to the body. You have to be in position to go to the body. Top class fighters don't go to the body unless they know they can get position, because they know they're going to get counted. The reason Golovkin wasn't going to the body was Canelo was in position to counter him. So he's not
with the uppercut. Yeah, that's right.
Well, not just with the uppercut, Steve. With that body shot, which you rightly pointed out, he got hit with. Golovkin did get hurt with a body shot during the fight. You pointed that out. I think the night after the fight last year, I remember listening to you and you said, I think you were right. No one really picked it up, but I think he did get winded with a body shot which Canelo threw when he was trying to get close. So, you know, top class fighters, it's a bit like, it reminds me of what happened before the Frampton Quigg fight, and the people who were saying Quigg would win. No, Quigg digs mercilessly to the body. Well, I was never convinced by that, because the land body shots, you have to be in position to land body shots. Like, look at Miguel. Miguel Cotto was a brutal body puncher, but he never landed any real body shots in Floyd Mayweather, because you have to be in position to land body shots. So the people who, like, in an ideal world for Golovkin to win, yes, he would have to land more body shots, but it's very, Canelo's a top-class fighter, so it's going to be difficult. Golovkin doesn't cut off the ring as well as he used to either. That's another factor which is going to hinder his ability to land the sort of body punches. Like, he's not fighting David Lemieux here, you know what I mean? Like someone who who's not great in the back foot and who can't get out of the way of maneuver out of positions, use the ropes. Canelo's very good at using the ropes in a legitimate way. You know, he's very good at spinning off ropes, and he's a very good sense of when he's close to the ropes to spin off at the side. And very few. That's sort of very acute spatial awareness. Not many fighters have that, and that's something that he's got better at over the years. So I think it'll be a very close fight again on the cards. And my heart is sort of ruling my head. I think if it is in any way close, Canelo will probably get it. But I'll say Golovkin, very close points decision.
Great stuff, Dominic. If you're available, I know that you work very early on Monday morning. Sometimes you can come back with us if you want next week and let us know how you saw it.
Thanks very much, Steve. Thank you.
Cheers. See you later.
Good luck.
Dominic there. Always good to hear from Dominic. Right, come on then. Time for predictions. Dominic's laid it on the line. Dave, what's going to happen next week? Canelo, Golovkin rematch. Do you agree with my article during the week that Golovkin has to knock Canelo out for the good of boxing, Dave?
Yes, I would agree with that. I would be pissed if Canelo won. I don't think boxing is going to continue on regardless of what happens. I didn't read your article. I'm sorry, Steve. But the overriding message is that would be best for boxing if Canelo got his ass iced that said, I mean, there's almost infinite number of factors you could consider and drive yourself crazy when trying to break this fight down ahead of time. I mean, there is for every fight, but in this case, many of them we have more knowledge on than like a smaller level fighter. This is a big fight through once for 12 rounds. There's a lot of drama outside the ring, in between. There's controversy with the judges. We've already gone over a little bit the officiation and how people might see it and all that. As far as Canelo has calmed down. He looks lighter than he was about a year ago. I might say that's due to the substances he's been not consuming now. I think it's pretty a pretty certain thing that the guy was deliberately cheating. We know he was at least cheating unintentionally. So the guy was huge last year. He looks lighter now. He still looks big. I think that is actually going to work in his favor this time around. I think he's going to be lighter on his feet. We saw a little bit of movement from him last year, and I think it did work in his favor when he used it. He's always had his feet stuck in cement. I mean, remember Matthew Hatton? The guy just kind of plodded around, couldn't even stop Matty Hatton. Then all of a sudden, he's bulking up or going up to fight Kirkland and icing him in one punch. You know, it's suspicious the way he kind of transformed into this stoppage machine. I would say he has him in that he knows he needs to move. And I think this new physical condition will make it easier for him to move. Will the size, the lesser, make it more easy for him to be damaged by Golovkin? Having lesser cushioning around his body, around his head, I don't know. Like, I would hope it makes it less easy for him to take the punches, because he did nasty shots from Golovkin as well. Both guys showed good resiliency in the previous fight. How much of that was due to size? How much? You don't think they released the on the night weights last year, did they?
I don't know. You were talking about their different body shapes and stuff. You know, Canelo last time compared to this time, I really didn't see much difference in the photos, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he looks in great shape both times. I just think that it shows. I think he's narrower. I think he's more of a V this time instead of a big fucking slab of meat. So I think I'm going to go with Canelo. Even if I'm wrong, I will be very happy. I think I do think Canelo will win. I think he is younger. He has more room to improve. I think he'll take it on points. The judges are more likely to favor him, I think, just based on a lot of factors, including that he's the star and has more of an upside if he wins, as far as making a fairly long career where he can make a shitload of money. So I think he will fight a little smarter in terms of movement. Maybe he'll conserve energy a little bit better. And I think he'll have a little better game plan for individual rounds, trying to steal him at the end, sort of Leonard Hagler style. As well, managing to maybe opening big and finishing big, winning the first couple rounds and winning the late rounds. I think he's going to have it pretty well planned out. They'll have learned something from the last one. Golovkin, in the last fight, he did not look like the boxer that we've come to know as the guy who kind of schooled Lemieux. He ended up just kind of selling out, and that's how he won most of his rounds. He came forward, just throwing, had a great work rate. He used a good jab, to be fair. He didn't cut the ring off as well as he should have, though. He didn't set up big punches that well, but he did the work. And when you have a guy who's getting by on work rate and physicality and power, which I think Golovkin did in the first fight, when I hoped to see him get by more on his boxing skill, I think that's worrying for a rematch, because I think Canelo is appeared to be the more skilled guy in the first fight, even though I think he definitely lost that fight. And that's irritating, but I think that might be where Golovkin's at right now. And we'll see what happens, but I think Canelo's going to win.
Okay, that's a couple for Canelo. Then, Andy, I think they're more picking hearts against heads and all this type of stuff. I think that, personally, I think Golovkin's going to get it, but it's going to be really close. I think it'll be a similar fight to the first one, but maybe the judges might even have the controversy in their minds or what have you. I think it's going to be like a 115, 113 a couple of times to Golovkin, and then maybe a 114 drawn scorecard, you know, like a majority decision type of jobby. Andy, what do you think?
Well, we do know that the judges are Dave Moretti, Glenn Feldman, and Steve Weisfeld. Do they spring any sort of confidence into you? I mean, I dare say if we can bring up their records and that, we could go through it if it gives us a bit of time just to kind of pick out their faults, especially in big fights. But I agree with you. I don't agree with maybe the outcome. I think Canelo's going to nick this by hook or crook. Too much money involved for Golden Boy here. I mean, this is their cash cow. They've cashed in with the rematch. They know they got lucky. Saying that you got another year on Golovkin instead of a camp and a fight this year, is it a step too far? I mean, I've been watching some of the first fight and that he didn't have it all his own way, Golovkin, even though he won the fight. Canelo obviously kind of going to look to counter punch and that. And when he does if he lets like his shots go 3-4 times, 3-4 punches and that, and he lands, he's going to keep those rounds close. I just think Golovkin, just to remove any doubt, I don't know if it's because it's up at elite level, but he needs to go for the knockout. He knows Canelo can knock him out. He's maybe been buzzed slightly with some of the right hands that Canelo's landed on him, but at the same time, I just don't think anybody or at middleweight can, especially like a guy the size of Canelo, he's not a big middleweight, is going to knock out a guy like Golovkin. So knowing that he can step forward and basically walk through his shots, the problem he's going to have is when the fight goes to the ropes, Canelo is cute with the shoulder rolls, stepping to the side, rolling with the punches, deflecting it off his shoulder and stuff like that. So Golovkin's going to have to find different avenues of landing shots, more body shots, which I think he did slightly negate in the first fight. I want to see him attack the body more. Left hook, straight right hands to the body, because you kind of headhunt the whole fight. That was one of my biggest complaints about him, headhunting too much in that first fight, especially up against the ropes when he should be working the body more. And just do what Fraser did against Ali. If you hate the guy that much, throw the punches and land them everywhere. Hips, the arms, the shoulders, bring the guard down. Then as the fight wears into the kind of later half of the fight, you can start landing shots to the head and stuff like that. So break them apart. If you really mean business, break them apart play by play, hit them all over the place, and then as the fight kind of then drags into the kind of later half, go for the knockout there and then. But failing that, if he doesn't do that, if it's a kind of technical affair, I somehow get this gut feeling that Alvarez is going to share it like something like 115, 113, and then we're going to end up howling and stuff like that, and then Golovkin's going to retire. So that's the way I see it playing out.
So I've been laid on the line. I think I'm the only one picking Golovkin, Rob. I don't know how you see it going. What does each guy have to do stylistically different from the first fight to make it their own?
Yeah, well, I think I'd back up what Andy was saying about Golovkin knowing that Canelo can't hurt him, because he really did land flush on him in one of the later rounds with a perfect right hand.
Yeah.
And full extension on it too. I heard someone on Twitter say he didn't get full extension. It was like he was throwing a baseball. He got full extension on it, all right. Like, he just didn't budge him. I think that from Canelo's point of view, all he has to do is win 5 rounds. You know what I mean? And I let go of the sentiments of your article as well. I mean, Golovkin, like, he's there to be admired, really. Like, he's one of the fighters in the modern era that probably deserves to retire undefeated. He's been avoided. He couldn't get Sergio. He couldn't get Miguel Cotto when they were holding the middleweight title at their own weight for ransom. Canelo gets the title and fucking vacates it rather than fight him. Goes on to fight AMIR, Liam Smith and Julio Cesar Chavez. Then the WBC, after he dumps their belter out, maintaining his innocence. And, I think with Canelo, it's a case of that you could fool some of the people, but this time the whole boxing community knows, it's being echoed everywhere, that he was cheating. Like, so his win is going to be tarnished no matter what. So for the good of boxing, I hope that God of War Golovkin comes out and stops him. And I think he can stop him. I think he showed in the first fight he could stop him, but there's a couple of things he didn't factor into the equation. One of them, the size of Canelo, and the other, the second wind, because we haven't seen Canelo been able to get second winds before. He looks like the lactic acid in his back or whatever comes back to haunt him, and he starts to breathe through his ass in the second half of the fight. But in the second half of this fight, he came on strong and started to have a second wind and started to land some combinations. But there was a point in that fight where Golovkin looked like he could stop him. And I think if he goes on search and destroy, he could possibly stop Canelo. And that's the result I'm hoping for. But like I said, if Canelo wins 5 rounds in a distance fight, then he gets the decision.
Rob, for you and for anybody listening as well, there's a YouTube channel. I think it's Astoria Boxing or something like that. What they've done is they've taken the HBO in between rounds, put up subtitles, and cut every single in between round, and then after the fight, and you can hear what they're saying. Each trainer from whatever HBO was obviously showing in between rounds, how the fight was going, what Sanchez was saying, what Capetillo was saying, or Reynoso, isn't it? Sorry, what Reynoso was saying, and then at the end you could hear them talking. You know, the decision was revealed to Sanchez that it was a draw right before it was obviously announced, and you heard his reaction. And it's really Astoria Boxing, I think it is, Rob. Really interesting listen.
Yeah, well, another point on that, and just in terms of the style in each one of them, I kind of disagree with the guys. I think Golovkin had more success when he was backing Canelo to the ropes, and I think that's where Canelo kind of suffered in the fight. And I said at the time, if he could clinch him and learn to clinch him and keep him in the middle of the ring, then he'd have more success, because it was only when he got backed up that he was losing the rounds. His feet are not great, so be interesting. Yeah, but just in a stylistic point of view, I think if Canelo can reset and keep the fight in the center of the ring, then he stands a chance of getting a decision. But hoping for that Golovkin KO.
Hopefully so. I agree with you. Before we go on to the Bellew of the Week, Andy, quick word on this Russian card, particularly Denis Lebedev against Hisny Altunkaya. I think Altunkaya, I'm right in saying, was last seen losing to Babet Shumanov. He took a big, massive left hand against Lebedev. It was maybe a bit of an Ali listing going on, Andy.
Yeah, well, you said he was last seen against who, mate? Because the last time I saw him, he was fucking taking a swan dive act on Friday night. As I said to you guys last night during the live commentary and that, and I did say to Rob, I posted the fight up for you guys and that. Okay, Lebedev landed that straight left hand, which is his money punch. I don't think he landed it in the fashion which actually resulted in the guy dropping like that. The head didn't snap back. Okay, the punch landed, but at the same time as he didn't go down like that off that shot and then stay doing in the manner of what he did. I just think it was cooked. Again, as I say, I know the WBA have been kind of involved here with this Lebedev fight, kind of almost pushing for the Usyk mandatory, but something reeks with that fight in my opinion. I'm basing it off the eye test. I mean, okay, I kind of legislate for taking a punch off a cruiserweight, but I can only base it off what I saw, and that left hand didn't cause that knockout. That's just my opinion, but we'll leave it at that. But it is Russia at the end of the day, though.
He did look like he wanted out in the previous rounds, though, too. He was looking at the ref to stop the fight in the round beforehand, I thought, a little bit.
Yep, Andy and Rob are both right. Go and look that one out. He's definitely a little bit suspicious. Nothing suspicious about our Bellew of the Week. So let's get on to them. John O'Donovan has thrown one in about 20 minutes ago. A bit of a late entry, but it could be one of the best ones for Johnny Nelson, saying this week that Kell Brook is at the top of the tree at 154. Did Johnny Nelson really say that?
Oh my God.
Kell Brook is at the top of the tree.
Rabchenko, that puts him there.
Rabsy Nesbitt. Dave probably wouldn't get that reference. Anyway, let's move on. LL Cool K, Mr. Kurt himself, still trying to get him on. Whether he'll ever turn up, who knows? We're 10 episodes away from episode 300. We're hoping to bring back some familiar faces, familiar voices over the next few episodes. Maybe Kurt will be one of them. He sent in this nomination for the WBC. The trainer's belt was on the line last night. Garcia versus Porter will have a WBC trainer's belt at stake. I didn't see anything of this after the fight. I'm assuming Kenny Porter's walking around with his trainer's belt tucked around his waist. Congratulations to you. Greg Cross, Mr. Boxing Casual, has nominated Liam for some casual comments regarding Wilder and Fury. Andy, you've nominated, rightfully so, these boys from last week, the Emmerdale clip. What was it, On Air with Adam and Mike, talking about Conor and Hatton?
Aye, so that goes away and checks this out. So basically, you know how they say that Conor McGregor, so how do we get this right now? they said Conor McGregor lasted longer than Ricky Hatton did against Floyd Mayweather. So that goes, as you do, one lazy morning, Monday morning, I go and check it out. Guess what? Floyd Mayweather, sorry, Ricky Hatton actually lasted 30 seconds longer against Floyd Mayweather than McGregor did. 10th round, I think it was 1:05 for McGregor getting stopped, and it was 1:30 or 1:35 for Hatton getting stopped in the 10th round. So, fucking casuals.
Talking of casuals, Ross Atkinson has been slating Frank Warren. He's the biggest snake in boxing, says Ross. Maybe once upon a time, not so sure now. Samuel Howarth, nominated by you, Andy. I think this is a troll account because he's been nominated over the last few weeks. He said he was talking about Usyk, or Bumsick as he called him. What would his excuse be for ducking Bellew? I think he's a troll, Andy. That's Howarth guy. I've had a few things been sent in, and it's quite outrageous. Yeah, pretty much. Dippo Osho, friend of the pod, shout out to you, Dippo. He sent a nomination in for Spencer Fearon. 2 nominations for Spencer this week. First one for saying that Matchroom are the best at grooming young boys, and then proceeding to talk about the size of Ted Cheeseman's thighs in the studio. Secondly, Andy,
I'm gonna give that one a miss.
I knew you would, mate. There's only one Jimmy Torbett.
Right. Secondly, he said that Amir Khan has the fastest hands in boxing. He's so fast, says Spencer Fearon, that he should be a pickpocket, and we should call him Oliver Twist. Well, says Dippo, funny because Oliver Twist was a shocking pickpocket, and that's why he got caught. So fair play to Dippo for picking up on that one. Matchroom Boxing, there's a storm coming in Boston, they said. It's not me, a big Nicky Fullerton coming over. It's Danny Yulusinov. Max Stoke has sent that in as a Bellew of the Week. If you've seen any of Yulusinov's fights so far, you'll probably know he hasn't exactly set the world on fire. Barry Patton has been nominated from Ben North, talking about Eddie Hearn being able to offer Usyk 10 times more money than any other cruiserweight fight out there. We're going to talk about Usyk tonight, but we're running out of time. We'll maybe get on to him signing with Matchroom over the next few weeks. Michael Gearty, why does Spencer Fearon have to compare Danny Garcia with Henry Armstrong? Also, a Bellew of the Week nomination for the Toe to Toe podcast. There you go, Andy. Danny Garcia has been compared with Henry Armstrong. What possible reason can the knowledge have for comparing Danny Garcia with Henry Armstrong? Andy, can you think of anything?
Well, they've not got the same skin colour. They don't fight the same way. They haven't held titles in the same division. One's been a legit world champ across 3 divisions at the same time, whilst one's only been a belt holder. So I didn't really see the significance, or the resemblance, I should say. Actually,
apart from all that, though, Andy, you can sort of see where he's coming from.
Well, I would probably say they've maybe got this kind of similar hairdo, the kind of black Velcro. But other than that, I don't know.
Absolutely ridiculous. As Andy says, Armstrong, I think I'm right in saying, held the world title, which was only one world title back then, at 3 different weight divisions, all at the same time. What was it, Andy? Lightweight, welterweight, and middleweight? I'm not the historian that you are.
It was feather, lightweight, and the welterweight, and this was at a time when there was only 8 weight divisions in boxing. Think about that for a second. Yeah. Think about it for a second. And this guy actually jumped up and down weights to defend the title.
Yeah, he was a legend, Armstrong. I don't know what Fearon's going on. He just feels like he has to throw these names in, doesn't he, I think? Anyway, Bigfoot has nominated Lee Baxter, Vargas' coach, for his personality. Flip me, if we're giving out Bellew of the Week for the personality, I think all of us could be nominated at some point. Anyway, Martin Hurry has nominated the Pound for Pound podcast. He wasn't the first, he'll not be the last tonight. The best bromance in boxing, says the Pound for Pound. It's got to be Eddie Hearn and Tony Bellew. Who else agrees? Martin Hurry doesn't. He's nominated the Pound for Pound podcast, which is Spencer, Oliver, and another guy who's in one of the soaps, I think. Let's have a look. What else have we got? Jake Wood. Yep, Jake. What's he in? It's not Coronation Street, is it EastEnders?
I think it's EastEnders. He's like some sort of kind of fucking baldy ginger tosser.
Right, okay, fair enough. You're not talking about Canelo here, no?
Yeah, well, bit of both.
Andy himself, Mr. Cholo, has nominated Rios. Sam Eggington versus Brandon Rios is in play for the Joshua Povetkin undercard. It's not now anyway. Rios sounds like me after a 5th of whiskey, says Andy.
Fucking right, man. He sounds bad. See, to be honest, the African guy should actually got a shot at Rios now, actually, because you just know Eddie. I mean, think about this. Eddie Hearn's going to put a punch-drunk Rios on a pay-per-view card. Think about that for a second, by the way. a punch like Rios, a guy who, he needs to retire.
And
Simple as
at 154 too.
At 154.
Yeah, but this is the guy who brought Michael Katsidis out of retirement to fight Tommy Coyle, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he said Coyle was number one in the world because of it, and then he brought over James Toney as well, who sounds like me after a boat of whiskey now in the fucking fifth of us.
Josh Foster in the chat there has nominated Lee Frotch for talking about the flat Earth. Apparently, we're getting all sorts of numbers.
He needs executed for that comment.
I forgot that bastard existed. Now I'm reminded.
Sam Keane has nominated Sean Porter for doing his road work wearing boxing gloves. Yeah, I'm happy to get on board with that. Friend of the pod, Rob Barnett, has nominated the Pound for Pound podcast again. More for the fucking picture alone, says Rob, and he's put the picture up on his telly. Even more so for that dullard from EastEnders thinking he's a boxing guru. Fuck's sake, kill me. By the way, I didn't listen to it. We believe you, Rob. George Nader has nominated Matthew Macklin. We need to see a rematch, says Matthew. What's he talking about, everybody? After Sam Eggington was battered from pillar to post by your man, Rob, the Tanzanian Pugilistic Syndicate champion, Matthew Macklin wants to see a rematch.
One time. Give me Brooke, who's next? I want Kell Brook, who's next?
You like this guy, don't you?
He was bigging him up big style last night, wasn't he? He was getting... I've never known that.
Came and had a go. Didn't he look like a little small guy for 54? Like he had his entourage with him. They were winking at the camera. They knew something was about to go down. So I called it. I said it wasn't going to last long, but I didn't fucking think it was going to be one time Joaquinho.
That big guy, Rob, that big guy who was in the corner, he's from somewhere, he's from one of the West African countries. He brings a lot of fighters over here. He was in the corner of a guy who fought Gary Corcoran, I think it was, on the Frampton, one of the Frampton undercards anyway. He brings a lot of guys over from Africa, so fair play to him for getting a winner as well.
Is he the guy who keeps messaging Tommy, asking him to manage his...
The Nigerian heavyweight? No, it's not the same guy. Right, this is a front runner for me. Edward Mays has sent it in. The GOAT. Everyone must have seen this guy who was sitting behind Kell Brook when Kell Brook was getting interviewed last night on Sky. This legend with a big grin on his face behind him. You saw him, didn't you, Andy? Smiling like a Cheshire cat. He was loving life.
That must have been 80% pure. He was snorting last night, by the way. He banged up. He banged at least 2 or 3 dunters right up each nosy, by the way. God, he was fucking wired.
He was loving it, man. Fair play to him. Gavin Graney has nominated a few commenters thinking that Ryan Burnett is fighting Josh Taylor. Good fight, says one. Yeah, Burnett is fighting Donaire. Taylor's fighting... who's Taylor fighting in the Super 6 again?
He's fighting
Ryan Martin.
Ryan
Martin, yes, Ryan Martin. Kevin Chase, one of many from last night. Can we give the whole Sky production team a Bellew of the Week? Too many to choose from. From Frotch's card to Johnny Nelson giving 3 points in the last 2 rounds to Wellborn, to that twat Adam Smith constantly going on about Kell Brook like he's pumping him. Happy to recommend all them, Kevin Chase. Christopher Ansell has nominated Sky News, reporting on the Anthony Joshua fight. The WBA, WBO and INF titles are on the line. I think they mean IBF, but you never know, Andy. Maybe an INF title has been created. Who knows?
Yeah, it could also have an HIV belt as well at some point.
Or a PED belt.
Aye, that as well.
The WBC, if you're listening, come up with a PED championship. I'm sure you can come up with a nice belt. You seem to come up with a belt for just about everything else. Declan Graffin, another regular contributor, has said to nominate the whole interview last night. Flash knockdown, says Amir Khan. I wanted to get 12 rounds. Amir Khan's post-fight interview. The whole thing has been nominated from Declan Graffin. Geordie McDonough, I forgot all about your question. I'll maybe get to that in a minute. Let's have a look. What have we got? I'll shout out as well to Men's Luxury Fitness was going on about Kell Brook as well. He's chasing Amir Khan on the same evening that the man he beat for his belt wins the WBC belt live on Showtime against the guy who knocked Khan out cold. You couldn't make it up. Our friend on Twitter here often notices these little things. So shout out to Kell Brook. We're happy to nominate him as well. Showtime were putting up a picture of Gervonta Davis last night. Hot Smig, Burger King, Smigger's titties. Noticed that it wasn't Gervonta Davis. It was some young lady with a frizzy hairstyle. I'm not sure who she was, but they had her down as Gervonta Davis. Showtime.
I'll tell you one thing. He's not looking too far off it. Have you seen him?
Yeah. Oh, he looked terrible, didn't he, with his double chin?
Looks like he's ballooning in between fights, Gervonta.
He was slapping folks' phones at their hands.
Him. He looked like a fat child who just finished a milkshake and was wired on the sugar.
But did you notice who he had sitting next to him, Dave? Who his meal buddy is? AB.
So that's off that shit up, Steve.
Robert
Us AB around here.
Robert Easter was there as well.
They're all there last night. Jared Hurd was there, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, the Charlo brothers. Everyone was there. Yeah.
Could you imagine the shit talk in the entourages of Javante Davis, Adrian Broner, and Robert Easter Jr. on the way to a fight? Oh my God.
It would be epic. Right, D-Dog has nominated Cobra Frotch on commentary. When Vargas was backed up against the ropes, it looked like a stoppage was coming till Vargas grabbed Khan. Carl then went on to explain how good of a judge Fat Terry is and when is the right time to stop a fight. Hashtag irony, says D-Dog. Boxing Guru has nominated Tony Bellew for some incident with Savannah Bradley. I think that was an old one, actually. Oh, Dippo Osho was back in touch as well. Not content with Spencer Fearon. He's having to go at Amir Khan as well. Don't tell us how you feel, Dippo. Amir Khan is a fucking cunt, says Dippo. Last night was a disaster. No way will he fight Brook now. We've all seen he's still very vulnerable and his pride won't allow him to lose to Kell. He's run out of excuses now, says Dippo. And in case you were wondering, he adds cunt on the end. Don't think he's a big Amir Khan fan. Talking of Amir Khan, we had a question from Amir Khan. Our other Amir Khan, forgot about you. Bellew of the week as well to Javonta Davis. There you go. The ghost of Scott Law put up a good one up earlier, Dave. Javonta Davis was out there looking like a middle-aged mother. he did look a bit like a middle-aged mother.
Wasn't his best night anyway, Javonta? The jumper on him and everything.
Little fat jumper. David Lincoln has nominated Errol Spence. Errol Spence is having a bit of shit talking back and forward with Terence Crawford. They both seem to have grown a personality lately. Get out of the gas, says Errol Spence. Like I said, smoking mirrors. So instead of smoke and mirrors, Andy, it's smoking mirrors.
There's that Texas education system.
Aye. You're probably snorting fucking the dragon off of mirrors and that with excellent.
Oh dear.
Look at Gabe.
He's been the clan meeting. Clan starts at half 4, mate, so he's away, he had to pop away briefly.
Right, any other nominations, gentlemen?
Yes, one for the HBO. I don't know if anybody noticed it last night, actually, but the Ioka fight, they actually had it listed as a 12-round fight right through it. Then going into the 10th round, actually, the HBO had been promoting it like as a 12-rounder for the entire fucking fight. And then Lampley had to kind of pop up and say that, just to let you know that the commission has now ruled that it is actually only a 10-rounder. It was actually listed on BoxRec for fucking the last 3 weeks as a 10-rounder. So clearly someone at HBO isn't doing the research.
HBO are going full current Box Nation. They're going free sports TV on us, Andy.
Oh, man. Listen, I actually agreed with Kellerman sometimes last night, but it's clear that announcing team needs absolutely sliced to the fucking bone marrow. Leatherman needs to put out to pasture, shot with a bolt gun to the forehead. Lampley needs to be pitting. I don't know where he wants to go, by the way. Somewhere with fucking cocaine. Kellerman needs to fuck off back to ESPN. And Andre Ward's okay, actually. He can stay where he is. Roy Jones is the same in that. And Hopkins, for example.
Right, any other nominations, boys?
I'm going to put Tommy up.
Rob's opening the cellar here.
About 3 minutes before...
Letting her miss it. Sorry, David.
About 3 minutes before Sam ate the shot, he said, I like Eggington. Hung around 147 too long. Want to see him in a test at 154. And me, right after that, boom. So credit to Tommy, he did quote his tweet and say L.
Fair enough for Tommy. Any from you, Rob?
Yeah, Eddie, just before the Eggington fight, he had tweeted out, genuinely nervous for Sam Eggington. You were, nervous. And you're just about to announce the Brandon Rios fight. That one backfired on you, didn't it, Edwards? Oh, brilliant.
Rob's loving that one. Go on then, Rob. Who's it going to be? Who are you going for? There's been some strong ones this week.
Who are the main players again tonight?
Well, I'm going to go. We've got Spencer Fearon's been nominated. The boxing podcast with Jake Wood's been nominated. Javonta Davis had an absolute shocker as well. Kell Brook, Amir Khan, Johnny Nelson's been nominated. Me personally, Rob, I'm going to go for that gentleman who was having the big grin behind Kell Brook because I thought he was just loving life, man. I liked him.
He's a good shout.
Can I ask a question? Did Eddie Hearn mention a 3-way last night?
I don't know. When was that?
Well, he was talking to Amir Khan about the potential 3-way contest between Pacquiao, Brook, and Khan.
I thought it was between him, MJP, and AJ.
Well, what I was going to say is, if I heard it right, why was Kilbrook no fucking pole vaulting into that ring signing the contract as midair? Freeways with two other guys. How's he no in there?
Because the last time he jumped in, Amir ran out of the ring, didn't he?
He was holding out for some chocolate brownies.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, come on, Dave. Take us out of this madness. Who are you going for? Maybe the Sky production team, Dave. Maybe the Sky Sports News. What do you reckon?
That guy in the crowd who just snorted the coke off of someone.
We all noticed him though last night, didn't we, Andy? We all noticed him straight away on the Patreon.
Oh, he was bang on the snort last night. That was 4 gram up each nozzle, like.
I got it about 2 hours later. I was like, oh yeah,
we'll go for that guy.
Nomination for Brooke, by the way, for Brooke's jacket. He looked like the last member of New Edition last night with that jacket at the stadium.
Yeah. All he needed was Floyd Mayweather's Trilby, and he'd be fucking suited him right down to the ground.
Oh, nomination! I had a brilliant one. Yeah, sorry about it. Fucking
go on.
50 got the better of Floyd this week. You know the Colin Kaepernick night campaign that came out. It was like, no matter what the circumstances, just do it. Black and white photo. Of course, the internet goes crazy, meme crazy. And they had one of Floyd, and it was just a load of random letters and 50 captions under it. Floyd must have wrote this one himself. So then Floyd, in response, put up something about 50 Cent having herpes again. And, showed his level of petty once again. So Floyd can get a nomination. But yeah, no, your man on the Charlo was definitely the highlight of the night.
Billy Boy's just jumped in. I think he's been having a bit of back and forth with Robin Deakin. He's nominated Robin for Bellevue of the week. Yeah, we're going for our friend. Then I think you called him Shabir. Solid week from Javonta Davis, but we'll go for Shabir. Right, so we had a couple of questions in earlier, which I forgot about. So to just round things off very quickly, just a 10-word answer or whatever from each of you guys on these. First of you, Dave, let's go to you with this one from Geordie McDonough. He said, name a fighter who fights at lightweight or below who could KO Amir Khan. I don't think Geordie rates Amir Khan's chin, Dave. Name a fighter at lightweight or below who could KO Khan.
Mikey Garcia.
Diego Higa.
Lomachenko.
Gervonta.
Linares. Berchelt.
Frampton.
Josh Warrington. Ray Vargas. Gavin McDonald. Jimmy McDonald.
One time Joaquinho.
Oh, he could definitely.
He's 54.
Oh, he's right up at like middle.
Yeah, he's 54. He's 54. Sorry, my bad. I can't pay too hard for Joaquinho now. I gotta get off the Joaquinho train.
Duke Micah. What about Duke Micah?
Ring Visay.
Okay. Right, okay, final one. We've probably answered this, but anyway, Amir Khan has sent in a question. Our former friend Amir Khan. Let's get to you, Andy, with this one. Brief as you want. Is it fair to say Khan is now past his best and should cash out? If the Pac-Man fight makes him more money, then that's the fight he should take. The Brook fight will always be there. Brief sentence on that, Andy?
No, he needs to retire. Millions don't. Health is everlasting. He needs to, not today, not tomorrow, yesterday.
Well said, Andy. Right, let's finish up. Thanks to everyone who's still with us. So Rob Kelly was there, Andy Patterson, Dave the Hater Lowback. Also, thanks to Gabe Lewis, who was on a little bit earlier on. We also had Dominic. We had Press Pass Paul making a return. Thanks to everybody in the chat. You heard us interviewing Jay Harris at the top of the hour with Richie Garner. We also had Luke Keeler, Irish middleweight contender, on. And then we had Josh Conroy as well, who is setting up the Welsh white collar boxing. You got 2.5 hours. You got pretty good value. Any final comments, Andy, before we get out of here?
Nah.
There you go. And from the horse's mouth himself. We'll catch you all next week. Triple G against Canelo. What exactly will transpire? Let us know on Twitter during the week. We'll be here to recap it all. Same time, same place next Sunday. I've been Steve Wellings. Bye.